Meeting of the Canyons Board of Education. Today is December 2nd, 2025, and we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South 301 East in San Utah. The first item on the agenda is study session, and we'll start with item A, which is the annual comprehensive financial report by Leon Wilcox Business Administration.
You, President Schill. Read something I thought was interesting not long ago. It was the Great Wall of China is actually made out of stone.
I like that. I was waiting for the joke.
Think about it for a minute. Thank you.
I'll be literal.
Very good. Thank you.
All the dad jokes to me.
Every year we've done this since every year we have to, under the state law, we have to put together our annual financial report. We call it our annual comprehensive financial report. We use the term ACFR. That's what we use for short. So we did that. So that tells our financial story throughout the year that ended on June 30th, 2025. So we take a snapshot in time of that's our, and we get our balance sheet with that. We'll go over that in just a second here. But so we want to bring this to you so you can see what our financial position is. All these numbers have been audited by our external audit firm, Wire and Company. So on the consent agenda of the business meeting, we have you approving this ACFR, okay, as we've always done. And then also on the consent agenda, there's what we call the governance report that they issue as they went through the audits. So you can see that out there. There is one more report that they did not get done. That's called the compliance report. They have to look at several state programs and federal programs. They got the state programs done, but they did not get the federal programs done because the federal government was shut down there for 6 weeks. And they put out what they call a compliance supplement that they have to audit against. And so they did not get this, the federal government has not released this compliance supplement as of yet. So they have not finished their audits on that. Hopefully they'll have that done this month. So when we get that report, we'll put it on the consent agenda probably in January. But again, our ACFR is out there. We've had to send it to the state auditor, the USBE, got to post it on our website for our bondholders as well. I just want to review 3 pages of it with you. It's 130 something pages long. You know, you can see it out there, but I think there's 3 important pages. I think all pages are important, but 3 in particular, I just want to go over with you fairly quickly here. And this is our balance sheet. You know, every business, every home has a balance sheet. You always hope you have more assets and liabilities, right? That's what we hope here, and whatever's left is your fund balance or your net position or whatever you want to call it. In government, we call it our fund balance. And so we look here, this left column, this is our general fund. This is where we pay all our employees out of, buy all our supplies and everything like that. And you know, we have 270 million in assets. Most of it's in cash or receivables that are due to us. We do have some liabilities out there. Lots of it's taxes that are deferred in the future for us that are offset by some of these receivables. And at the end is our fund balance. You can see our total fund balance is about $73.2 million. This is pretty healthy, right? That's a lot of money. But just to go over a couple areas here of our fund balance, what we've designated that moving forward. So this first number here is what we call our economic stabilization, similar to a rainy day fund, all right, at the state level. So under state law, and the board has committed this way back when, 15 years ago, the board committed to do this, which is 5% of the next year's expenditure. You set that aside as a rainy day fund, if you will. That's about $20.5 million. And then the next couple lines down are what we owe our employees and our vendors. So We have to set aside what we call the GASB, if you've heard of that, for a few of those. We still have about 250 or so employees eligible or being paid on that. That's coming over from the old board and retirement system. And then also for all our employees who have vacation due, we have to set aside money for that as well. So that's about $9.5 million. And then we all open POs that we had at June 30th was about another 1.2 million for our vendors out there. Then we get down here to a couple other line items. We call this assigned, what we've done here internally, and that is we allow our schools to keep any supplies or textbooks or technology carryovers. That's about almost $5 million. We don't allow departments to do that, but schools can do that. We also set aside about $2.5 million for our insurance. You know, insurance is always that can have big swings in it. We have a lot of claims right now. We're doing pretty well on insurance this year this far, but we can have swings in that, so we set aside money for that. And then the last one is really what I would call available fund balance. That's about 32 million. We call that unassigned fund balance. I mean, it's not set aside for a specific purpose. But as we've always said, if you've heard me in the past, I always say that's about 1 month's worth of expenses. We spend about close to 35 every month. So we're to stay about 1 month ahead of the game, if you will, on this. That's our fund balance, again, equaling up to 73 million. In our capital, the third one over, what we have left at the end of June was about 45.5 million. Well, a lot of that is still set aside for the Innovation Center. Bonds we issue for that. And then the projects we still have outgoing at Gordon, Eastmont, the field at Hillcrest and work at Corner Canyon. You know, those last two are pretty much done, but they weren't done at June 30th. So you can see our balance with that. And we have other balances here for our lunch and our school checking accounts as well, about $20 million. The whole amount of our fund balance is about $140 million district-wide. We always watch that. We want it to keep it stable, but we also don't want it too high because remember last year's in the legislative session, a few school districts were having lots of cash or fund balances. We also need to hide it so we're protected. Our bond raters also look for high fund balance. The next schedule I wanted to go over quickly is our what we call our income statement. You know, we always talk about our budget. We always look at what did you approve as the board as our budget, and how did we actually spend that? You know, where did we come in our budget versus what actually happened? That's the schedule here. It's on page 81. Yeah, you can see our main areas of property taxes and state money. They got the bulk of our revenues coming into us. About state is about 50%, property tax is about 40%. You can see we expected to bring in about 390, brought in about 388. So we thought it didn't bring in as much, but we also deferred some. So you know, for future years, so that's why that's a little under budget there. But you can see what we spent going out, you know, so again, we've always said people are our most expensive. Education's all about people, right? So 88% of our expenses going out were for salaries and benefits for our employees. You can see what we budgeted, what we spent, and where we're coming under budget. We were about almost 7.5 million under budget, which is about 2%, just under 10%. So that's typically we're in that 2 to 3% under budget. So we ended up after some transfers, ended up adding about 630,000 to our fund balance. That gets us up to that 7 we talked about on the balance sheet. So there's where we're at with that. So you can also compare where we were a year ago with our 24. Last one I like to show is at the back of the app. It's in our stats section, so we accumulate stats over time. it's on page 113. This is a important one, 'cause it shows our taxable values. So we go up, and that affects the property taxes that we can bring in, and how that impacts homeowners. You see the big increase in residential homes. You know, we've added a few homes, right? But, you know, we've been pretty much built out since we've been a district. But, you know, some spots have grown in a little bit, but you can see, you know, where we were in 2015, coming out of the recession at $11.8 billion, and where we are now at 27. We haven't added that many homes, so everybody's home value has gone up, right? You can see here a couple of years back, we had a big increase. Remember that 21 to 22 home value spiked by 30%. So that shows that there. What we really like to see, and what we hope to see more of, is commercial going up, and that just hasn't kept pace. A lot of it has to do with people working from home, right? So there's not a demand there. It's gone up a little bit, but it really, you know, jumped there for a few years. Well, the economy was doing quite well in Salt Lake County. Lots of building going on, but it has, I will say, stalled to somewhat extent over the last few years with that. Just construction prices and people working from home. But you can see our total value, where it was in 2018, where it is now. A lot of value out there. So with that, that's what we have. Again, we have this on the consent agenda for you to approve the whole AFR. I want to thank Danny here. He's had to not only implement a whole new accounting system, spent many late nights doing that, but also putting this AFR together. So big thank you to him and all his work and his team's work making this happen. So big thanks to Danny for that. So with that, any questions?
Any questions? Katie?
I'd just say thank you for what you're doing, managing our finances well so that we're in a position of strength and safety for, you know, who knows what's going to come down the pipeline, particularly as we're seeing these declines in student enrollment and things. And thank you to Danny for all your work on this.
Amazing. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Leon. Thank you, Danny. We look forward to approving this on consent. So thank you for explaining that to us. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item B, and it's strategic plan focus group report operating systems, and this will be by Leon Wilcox.
Say another, this one, kind of funny, I think. You know what happened when they mixed a cheetah's DNA with a crab's DNA? Wasn't good because it went sideways in a hurry.
That one again.
I'll only trust Derek now.
Yeah.
Right, it looks fine.
I'm just gonna look.
Your joy over there.
Why are you blushing, Derek?
Next to me.
So it's our turn, the operating system subcommittee, to report. I just want to thank everybody who's on our committee. Amber, Andrew, and Katie represent the board, but many of the, you know, Dan, Susan, Kay, Jeff, Kirsten, everybody else who's on the committee, appreciate their input on all the help. We have a lot, we discussed a lot of, trying to go pretty deep, I would say, on a lot of topics. And, these are some of the ones we're going to look at this year and that we have been looking at. You know, I know planning and enrollment's part of long range, but we've also been looking at it here. As that also affects our operations. Communications, you can see how that ties into one of our strategic initiatives. Safety, technology, principal leadership, what we get out there on the listening tour. There's a lot of stuff in this presentation. I'm not going to read it all, but those are some of the things that we're looking at. Now, one of the things that we talked about a couple months ago was our obligatory transfer policy and why we did that. If you remember back early September, we did do some what we call them OTs, beginning of the school year. This is the first time we've actually ever done those as a district. It's because our projections, our student enrollment projections were not as high as what they actually were the first couple of weeks of school. So if you remember, we sent out some communication on that, and we felt like we needed to finally do those. Looking at them in past years, but we really feel like we needed to do them this year with our decrease in enrollment and budgetary needs. And so we do have what we call an OT policy. We make sure we follow this policy. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the first thing is if a school is, if you will say, overstaffed, and we know we need to move teachers, first thing we do is call for volunteers, and sometimes we get them, and sometimes we don't. And then we do it on a seniority basis there. And then you can see how we follow that, the other steps going down for that. You get a couple key things is we do offer one placement only, and you also have the right of first refusal if a position opens up at the school you were moved from, the opportunity to come back in 2 years. We also value full-time 1.0 FTEs over our part-timers. We know that part-time, we like the full-time FTEs, especially in the elementary schools teaching the full day, rather than kids having 2 teachers, one in the morning or one in the afternoon. So here's what, when we looked at our enrollments and we saw that some schools overstaffed, some still qualified for additional FTEs. These are the changes that we made back in September. And you can see, I'm again not going to go through them all, but we had a elementary success coach here that we moved to Hillcrest, Crescent, revised their land trust and TSSA amendments. Then we made some other changes. The kindergarten teacher, we were overstaffed at Glacier Hills, but needed one more at Sunrise, and we made a transfer there. I won't go all the way down. We did end up with some what we called contracted subs, so we made sure everybody had a position. We ended up with 4 at the time. We have placed 2 of those in full-time positions, one at Draper and one actually back to Silver Mesa. And one has voluntarily separated from us.
So Leon, just explain to the board a little bit about, in the past, we've used what's called cushion, right? So there's this additional money that we kind of backfilled these spaces. In the end, how many FTE did we end up saving by?
8.
So that's substantial. So just kind of going back to your point, Katie, about, and this was painful. I mean, we've never done this before, right? We've been threatening principals for multiple years that, hey, this could come, through ESSERS and where we were at there, but this is the first time. So I just appreciate everybody's efforts to make it as smooth as possible, and hopefully we don't ever have to do it again, but it's tough, but anyway.
I have a question that Silver Mesa handled it spectacularly because of the leadership of the school. What would have been helpful is if they had had a little bit more of a heads up. I mean, it was like, we tell them on Friday and then Monday it happened. And then the community, she literally had to meet with every single parent of every single grade affected, 4th grade, 2nd grade, DLI. I mean, there were 4 positions, 5 people that had to leave. That was a lot all at once, and they didn't have a lot of warning. Is there a way or that we could anticipate this a little bit more? Like if we're on level 2 before we hit that level 3, say, we're at level 2 in some of these schools that could be affected and warning them. I'm just asking.
Well, we've tried to push it up. I mean, our goal is to push it up as early as we can in the fall.
Sure, because you don't want to do that.
Well, I think there's some valuable lessons that we learned from this process, because this is the first time we've done it.
Right.
Here are the couple, and okay, you guys can add. I think the first thing is we really need to monitor our enrollments, and principals, we need to be honest with principals, and they need to be honest with us. If the enrollments aren't there, we need to be on the same page communicating that out very early, before school starts. The second thing is we just need to start early, you know, we always try to wait till that 10-day count. That's what the state goes off of, you know, students not enroll for 10 days, you have to drop them. And we always, I think, sometimes falsely hope that these students will come back after a few days, whereas on day 1, 2, or 3, they're usually there. So that's why we need to, you know, look at starting earlier that way, you know, try to give them a little bit more heads up that way. But I think, you know, it was rough there for a couple of weeks. We get it.
It was just so sudden, and the community had no warning. The staff heard about it like a day before it happened. Anyway, it was just very traumatic. It's almost as bad as closing a school as far as the trauma level.
So we, I think, you know, I think it settled down, you know, once we got everybody placed, and that helped out quite
It's all
a
good
bit.
now, but
But we know that this would, you know, we've done it once, and so we're, tell our schools, you know, enrollments aren't there, you're gonna have to, you push pause on hiring, and that's hard for the school.
You wanna get the
Because
best
they
people.
want the best people. So you get into that, that economy of overhiring, but then if you wait, you may not always get the best people.
If I could just add a little bit to add to this unfortunate situation with Silver Mesa. We have to remember that we had, 600 kids that just didn't
Disappeared.
show up.
I know.
Literally disappeared. They
no,
were,
and they're not faulting that.
no, for sure. We've always referred to it as butts and seats, right? These are the numbers that we've always known and they're there.
Yep.
Sorry that's. just
No, it's
the way
visual.
it is. And where those kids went, we had no idea. Also, on top of that, in the past, thanks to Leon, the board's support as well, we've always been able to find a way to maintain or carry that another year. And this is the first time where it's been like, this is the direction we have to go, because we're probably gonna see this, you know, in the future as well, unfortunately. And so we've learned a lot, as Leon pointed out, and we want to avoid this altogether, but I'm confident that our principals are going to be a little bit more cautious and careful with their hiring as well. I'm not saying that they were.
Silver Mesa also had a principal change. Not this year, but the year prior. So a lot of this was assimilated as the new principal came on. So it's one of those ripple effects. I don't know, and it doesn't matter, and she's not upset. She's not.
Yeah, the reality of it is it really stinks for the school overall, for the teachers, for the parents, for the students. There's one of the things that I hated more than anything as a building principal is when we hit a certain number with our kindergarten in a Title I school, and even having to add a class, parents were thrilled about, oh, my class is gonna be smaller now, but we're not moving my kid.
So he's not in my
You know what I
backyard.
mean? But it's a hard challenge for schools in general and for our teachers especially. And so
One
we
more
hope to
question.
Avoid it, for sure.
May. Do we have a firm stand on, I know we have a preference, but is it a firm stand on that we would prefer not to have part-time employees, period, in teaching positions?
No, I don't think we have firms, you know, I think that's always a preference.
But I don't think that it's known by anybody. Until we went through this, a lot of the flack was from the part-timers. Even if they were offered a full-time position, I don't know if they were allowed to do that, if they were allowed to move from a part-time to a
Two
full-time.
of them did.
Did they?
These
I'm
two
trying to
right
think.
there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You just push the button.
We did get a part-time, a
Yeah,
full-time.
okay. I just wanted to know because I've never heard that spoken. And that was an issue that came up from those part-time. But we're not discouraging it, but we're not encouraging.
Yeah,
Is that what we're saying?
that's probably more on me, and at Silver Mesa,
It's
that they're the ones that really raised it, because that's where it occurred. But I mean, in rural districts, shared classrooms is common. There's not enough people, so you have shared classrooms all the time. And at least over my career, I've seen that be very effective, and I've also seen that be very disastrous, because you have the same classroom, if both teachers aren't at the same skill level, you know, and we talked about that with them, and maybe their personalities are different, maybe they discipline different. And so you get that out of alignment, and it really is rough on the kids versus the same teacher, you know, every day. So, but it's a strategy. Districts do it. I mean, we've tried to avoid it, you know, the best that we can. And it kind of is the same thing with split classrooms, right? That we've had to use also as a strategy to mitigate this. But, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's our policy. It's not anything that's in, you know, it's not
I was
solidified.
just wondering, I'd never heard a
We don't
statement.
have that many elementary part-time teachers. We have
Not anymore.
We have more, you know, we have quite a few at the secondary level. Teach
Well, before it was kindergartens because they were almost all halftime.
We have a handful of.
Handful now, okay. I was just curious because I hadn't heard that stated specifically.
Then Holly had a question.
Yeah, as far as the 600, that's something, I'm really glad McKay pointed that out. That is a big deal. We've never been off on projections as much as that ever, like times 100. So I think that's something, I know we're saying we don't know what happened. We have no idea what happened.
It's happened.
I think those numbers actually came down. It ended up being, I think, closer to about 400, because we did get quite a few back in our Title I.
Right, and some of what I have just heard here in between meetings and things is that some of it was people from different countries that have gone. Is that right?
Couldn't
Okay.
afford their housing.
So-
Moved out west.
And they couldn't afford the housing. I also heard about rent going up in one of the apartment buildings and things like that. Right, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as we look towards next year, is there anything we can do with those prediction numbers? Because I think we need to take a lesson from that of what happened and see if there's any reporting we can get as far as if there is, you know, people being sent away or increases in rent or things like that. Maybe there's some different reports we can tap into to help us with that, because the trajectory is probably, the way things are headed, is gonna be pretty similar, right? So we need to make adjustments with our predictions of enrollment.
That goes on to this next slide. That's what I can see. I showed this at the last meeting, in the state. You know, in 4 years, they're dropping from 673 down to 643 is projected next year. That includes charters, too, so 30,000 kids.
Does the state have any idea how many kids are in private schools?
I think they do, but I don't. And I don't know how many is homeschooled. But you can see, you know, the numbers are continuing to drop. They do expect us to go down about 1,100. About 1,100 students in Canyons next year is what our projection is.
So that's close to 4%. We've been at 2%. So just to give you an idea about.
And Rick, you know, superintendent meeting the other day that Rick went to, I guess yesterday, and you know, state is expected to eventually drop down under that 600,000 mark by around 2035. So that's number, you know, next 40,000 more. And so they do expect a rebound there, but it's, you know, a few years ago they saw this decline coming. They thought it would go down to around 620. Now they're seeing under 600, 590, 580, 590. So
You know, they rebound. It's not even supposed to rebound up to where we're at now, right?
it's supposed in 20. They have a chart out there, maybe 2050, 2045.
By the time it starts to get back even close.
Who knows? You know, every year they change these projections. As I said a couple of years ago, they were 620. Now it's 580.
This is Gardner Institute too, by the way, that is doing these projections.
And so that also ties into, you know, we discuss our out of district students and why we want to try to be as best we can a district of choice. Big thanks to Kirsten. You know, in our permit process, we asked, why do you want to come to Canyons? And so we sent out that information to you, you know, just someone will just put a sentence or two, most of them will put a sentence or two, but, so we try to glean as much information from that. We feel like that's important. you know, our high schools are big draws. You can see the numbers, this year who are, from out of district who attend our high schools, about 755. But, you know, it's, I think that's a class, if you will. Hillcrest is a big draw, IB in the theater program there. Or next, and you can see the next three about the same, but we are a district of choice, and so we're proud about that and want to keep that going, especially at our high school level. It's hard to draw elementaries and middle schoolers because they gotta transport themselves, and that's hard. We get some, but that's not as many. High schoolers who can drive and take over other. So that's our enrollment and our, that's that section. We're gonna move on to a whole nother one now. And that's our Q update. Again, this was a big transition. So big thanks to our IT and Danny's team, payroll and HR, you know, that's who it really affected this time around. So all our, we transitioned over on October 27th. So the last two payrolls have all been from Q. Payroll here was big. It's our biggest payroll we've ever had at Canyons because we paid out the 16 hours of paid professional time to all teachers. We paid out the ESP $1,000 bonus to all our ESPs. We also paid out to our ESPs who were on the top step. Last year, step 10, it did not get a step. This year, part of the negotiation process was $650 one-time payment, so ESP's got a $1,600 on Friday, so $15 million payroll, or the biggest one, not the bottom. Still resolving some issues on reporting and inventory and a couple other things, but overall it was a lot of work, but it's we got through it. And, but the bigger one is coming up in July, where we transition our student system. So that's going to affect every teacher, grading, the attendance, how they do that. Student, when they go look, the parent, when they go look, register, big transition over. So we are hiring what we call Q champions at our schools, or appointing them, or going to give them a little bit of a stipend to help be a teacher, teach the teacher model there. It'll be either the coach or a teacher at our schools. Should be noted, Alpine, you know, is going to be cut into 3 districts, but for the next year, they're going to transition the same week as us over. So they'll be on Q for 1 year together before they split up into 3.
And Camille Cole is our lead administrator. She's been on, we've assigned this to her. How long has she been on it? Okay. How long has Camille been our lead?
3 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's done a great job. They're getting us.
Really nice plan.
But that's gonna be big. It's we
There'll be some pain.
we don't wanna undersell that. There's gonna be some pain, yeah.
Can I ask a question? What are we doing for parents? Will we send them some type of?
We should
Yeah,
be,
I
should
think
be a ton of training.
Send them out something.
Training video
That's where our plan is on that. So
for.
I think you're gonna find, at least we've found here, once you get into Q on the user side, it's actually easier. You know, boys who clock in and out now under Q find that easier. So I think it's changed, and we don't want to undersell that, but I think once we get into more.
Holly?
Just with that communication, can we make sure that we do that? Let's see. I'm just thinking about with the first time the parents need to use that would probably not be until it's in July, but would be the school year, right?
Registration, August 1.
Right. So at registration, are we gonna have a big little
We're
warning?
gonna have all kinds of videos and information out there, and they log on to see it, yeah.
Do we want to send something at the end of the school year before people go into the
I
summer?
think we will, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
Me too, because I think it can get missed in the summer.
I think we're gonna do that.
Okay.
People don't read their emails.
Yeah. From the school, yeah.
Actually, even
even before the month of May. I know that sounds like, probably a little paranoid, but honestly, every parent, when they hit May, it's like they call it Maycember for a reason. There's just so much going on. And I think that that might be part of why we've had some of our school communities with regard to consolidations who have been frustrated with the timeline, because they're, part of what they're saying is, well, you started bringing this up when we were all crazy busy, right, towards the end of the school year. So I do think if we can hit it sometime at least by the end of month of April, I think we'll have a much better chance of having fewer. I'm sure we'll have frustrated parents still, but fewer of them.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that Camille's actually put together a nice plan for trainings to begin with our teachers and staff starting in April. So that can be coordinated with the communication that would go out to the parents as well. So
That would be awesome.
we should have a nice thing in place then. That doesn't mean teachers are gonna actually end up with 3 different options of when they want to receive their training, but that's just as early as we're comfortable starting that training because of figure it all out first.
Moving on from Q and just one more about a technology update. Some of this we've given to you before, on our filtering and we can just call it technology and education. Some of the things that we began headed by McKay, started last May when he had his, our parent group there, giving parents ability to modify their filtering settings. That's been good. We haven't heard a whole lot of feedback this year on our Chromebooks and our technology. You can see some of the things that we've done there. All our teachers to try to eliminate Chromebook free time, if you will. We've gone through and done an audit of quantity of screen time. Try to give as much transparency moving forward. Implemented the 3-strike rule as a dad. One of my boys has received 1 strike. No games. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Again, and then getting into the filtering process, we did go out for an RFP on a filter, but we want to hit the brake a little bit, or if we can, and pause on that. The reason being is UEN, which provides internet access for all school districts, is also doing a filter on RFP right now. So we want to see what they're going to come back with, so we can, one, try to be as uniform with other districts as we can, and also, get on the pricing plan as well. So we're going to put our pause until UEN finishes their filtering process. So that is where we're at with that, okay?
Our in-house filtering is continuing.
I just want to throw kudos out to our IT team, because I feel like what we've implemented is best practice across anywhere. And the transparency that it offers now, and the pushing to parents when their children are searching things they ought not search. Really, it's great, right? Like you've got an alert, like we've got an alert. And I think that's what parents want, right? Because I think that, one of the big concerns was they're doing stuff. We can't see it.
Right.
We can't intervene. We can't have those discussions, right? But now they can. And I know that, this isn't just like a setting that was turned on. Like this is the work of people developing something from nothing. And I just think that that's really fantastic. So
Our engineers are the best.
Amazing.
I'll make sure I pass that along to them. I meet with them every Wednesday morning, and we literally go through all the searches and determinations on things, and so they'll be quite pleased to hear that. But we've had nothing but positive feedback from our parents. They've all been saying how it's very similar to what you've all expressed. Yeah, I've received one of those, and it's been more about now I can have the conversation with my child that I didn't know was necessary in the first place. So we're getting about 500 to 600 searches that would be flagged, but what was it, like 92% of those are all deems, not like inappropriate. But the inappropriate ones, those are the ones that the parents have been most grateful for because they've, wow, this was an issue or a challenge, and so we're trying to address that now with our kid. But
Well, I do love that it supports families that way, okay? I mean, it kind of answers that other piece that they were feeling, like you said, left out of the mix. And I also think that it's eliminated a question mark in some parents' minds because they've heard so much about potentially certain things that kids are doing on computer or on their Chromebooks or whatever. And there's always this question, is my kid? I don't know, right? And so when you're having emails come back and like, you're trying to play games or this is the term, and you're like, okay, now I know where I'm at. Like it kind of eliminates the question mark or wondering a little bit. And so there's more clarity for them, which I think brings a lot of the temperature down for everybody.
can I ask a quick question of the board, if that's okay? One of the things that we're running into now are some of those searches, as we referred to them before as false positives, or I'm not sure if this would be deemed appropriate or necessary to alert the parent of this. And we've been defaulting to, yes, we just make them aware. Let the parents figure that out on their own.
That's good.
And if you're all okay with that, we're just gonna continue to have.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's building.
Be safe.
Son even texted me the other day and said, if you get alert, this is why I really wasn't trying to search it to begin with. So he was being ahead of the game, so I wasn't getting after him.
Yeah, no, it's functioning like a partnership and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Because as you all know, I bet if we were to go around the room and if I threw out one of the search terms, we probably have 7 different opinions, at least on what, is that
Yeah.
appropriate, is it not? Okay in my house, not okay in my house. And so that's why we've been defaulting to just let the parents figure that
I
out.
really like that.
Just kudos to these guys, McKay's in that meeting, but I think it's important everyone understands this is people's eyes on it manually. It's not an automatic threshold because as McKay explained to me, I mean, every search, every hit has all these ads and that also logs that as a single hit on every one of those. So they're manually looking through, these engineers with McKay there, all of these searches. So, I mean,
Oh my gosh.
commitment level to this
Hour and
is.
a half to 2 hours every Wednesday morning, so.
But I agree. I think it's better to err on the side of being conservative. At the AI conference the last 2 days, they talked about there was this approving this chat box in appropriate terms, and that Meta, their chief ethicist, and they were like very sexualized terms. And once this got out, this internal document, people were floored. And so I think we always, because everybody has a different set of morals, I think we always need to err on the most conservative end, and like you say, then let parents decide whether it's inappropriate or not.
Yeah.
We'll continue that.
Okay.
Hey, Leon, can you finish in 5
I'm gonna
minutes?
wrap up here. Last thing is the listening tour. You can see, kudos to Rick, communications for doing this. The last 3 years, as you can see, some of the things that have happened, I think the biggest thing would be hiring our APs and extra planning time for our teachers, our elementary teachers. You can see where they've gone this year, 13 locations this far. Some of the bigger things that they've heard, I think, we've addressed a lot of things with that. I showed on this slide. So, I think we feel pretty good about some of the things that were, class size, we're always gonna hear about that. And I'll go down to I think it's the 5th bullet there, the enrollments that are GLI schools, the neighborhood classes that we hear about as well. As we talked early on, the OT transfers as well, something they're hearing about. Other ones, school communities, as we go through this, you need to go down this path of possibly closing schools. How does that impact them? Then, how do they, in the last bullet, how, unifying and combining the schools together, was a concern for people. And go to the all-year retirements at our schools. These are more frequent things. parent-teacher conferences, things that we talked about, planning time, PLCs that week or the week before, parent-teacher conferences, prep time as well then. And then some more what I call micro things, the absenteeism, we've got our legislators with that. That's a huge statewide initiative right now. They did say thanks to the APs and I think some of the tours have been pretty very positive. Getting one tomorrow, I believe it's Willow Springs tomorrow, right? So that'll be number 14. So there's where we're at. We're out of time, but any last questions?
Any more questions or comments?
Tomorrow's Sandy,
Sandy?
3:15.
Sandy.
I was gonna say,
I was gonna say it's not yet.
Will's on Thursday.
Thursday.
I would say it's not yet.
It's like, phew.
It's on the list, but not yet.
Sorry, Holly.
Thank you, Leon, and Operations Committee, and then I will now close this meeting. We'll just start business at 7:00. Thank you, everyone.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday I just have
Wait, how
outfit.
was that AI?
Thursday at 8 a.m.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
And then
How was that AI?
It was really good. I think
Today is December 2nd, 2025, and we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South 300 East in Sandy, Utah. The first item on the agenda is to approve our agenda for tonight, December 2nd. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for tonight, December 2nd, 2025.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion to the motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll have that tonight by Willow Springs Elementary Principal Ann Hansen, and then we'll hear some school highlights.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At Willow Springs Elementary, we grow together. The average kindergartner walks up to our doors standing at about 43 inches tall and leaves us 6 years later to start middle school at roughly 57 inches. But the growth that comes during that time for students, staff, and our community is more than any measuring tape can tell. Our student body of 500 grows together in friendship. 30% of our students ride the bus, while the rest walk or ride from surrounding neighborhoods. We are proud of the 10% of our students who are learning more than one language and honored to serve the 11% of our students who receive special education. Our students grow together in creativity and critical thinking as their classroom teachers work side by side with our Beverly Taylor Sorensen visual arts teacher to present lessons integrating content and art. We allocate TSSP funds to maintain this high-level engagement every year, and we appreciate the board and the district for recognizing and supporting this excellence. Students at Willow Springs grow together when they sing in choir, play in orchestra, join the chess club, or participate with the book blitz. And of course, they grow academically. Last year, we were proud to advance 77% of our students in kindergarten through third grade at or above reading composite benchmark. At Willow Springs, our staff of 75, including 24 full-time classroom teachers and 2 preschool teachers, grows together. Jessica Roberts, who has taught at the school since it opened in 2006, says that we have always been committed to offering a high-quality education so that families will want to choose to come here. Daisy Fuentes, our newest first-grade teacher, shared, "I love to be a part of this community and all that it has brought me." The addition of our assistant principal, Amber Rock, has been like water and sunlight to our seedling systems. Thank you for this redefining resource. At Willow Springs, our community grows together. From our invested school community council to our award-winning PTA, our parents, our grandparents, our special adults show up. They show up on the first day of school and on the last day. They show up for assemblies and performances and school parties and art nights. They show up for their children and for all our children. The words to our new school song, written by a student, probably say it best. At Willow Springs, we practice safety, we act kindly, and we work hard. At Willow Springs, we show respect. We love our colors and we sing them loud. Purple and white, purple and white, purple and white. Go Wildcats, go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing those highlights. We as a board love to hear about that. And I love your theme that we grow together. That's really cute. And then it's just great to hear about your assistant principal and how that really is helping, because that was a really big investment by the board. So anyway, we appreciate you being here, and please pass on our thanks to your staff. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Canyon Strong employee, and we're also going to do student recognitions tonight. And that'll be by Jeff Haney, Director, and Kirsten Stewart, Associate Director of Communications.
Thank you, President Schill, for this time to recognize the achievements of those in Canyon School District who have gone above and beyond in their pursuit of excellence. It's been quite a whirlwind in the district in the past few weeks, with big things happening all across CSD. Now, we start tonight with the major headline of the sports pages in Utah. Yes, it was a three-peat. In front of a cheering crowd at Rice-Eccles Stadium at the University of Utah, the Corner Canyon Chargers won the 6A championship in football for the third time in a row. The Chargers beat a tough Lone Peak squad. It was an amazing game. The end result, Corner Canyon 35, the Knights 20. It was a tightly contested game. They showed great sportsmanship, and it was so much fun to see the Chargers lift that trophy above their heads for the third time in a year. Now, the championship game marked the 8th consecutive Corner Canyon appearance at Rice-Eccles, and it cemented Corner Canyon's legacy as a perennial powerhouse in Utah high school football. Headed into this year's championship game, a rematch against Lone Peak, Coach Eric Kerr had notched a record 111 wins and just 9 losses while he's been the head coach at Corner Canyon High School. Now, the championship won by the Chargers is the 4th team or individual state title in High School Activity Association sanctioned activities so far won this year by Canyon's district student athletes. So congratulations to Coach Kerr and his team on winning the state title in his 112th win as the head coach of Corner Canyon Chargers. But it also begs the question, will the 113th win bring home a national championship to Canyon School District? Now, that's just one of the major storylines that we'll be following since the national news broke that our very own Corner Canyon High School has been invited to compete in the first ever national high school championship game. The game will be December 10th at Under Armour Stadium in Baltimore. The Chargers are ranked number 7 nationally, and they'll face St. Francis Academy, and that school is ranked number 2 among all American prep teams. Now, we hope the Chargers will hear us cheering from afar. We are throwing a watch party that night for the entire community. We hope to have it at the new Innovation Center. There's a 400-seat auditorium there with great screens and great sound. Plans are being finalized to have a small tailgate party with tailgate foods and popcorn, snack, drinks for anybody who wants to come and cheer the Corner Canyon Chargers as they compete against St. Francis Academy. Now, it's going to be shown on ESPN2. Watch our social media pages in the coming days for specifics about our watch party to cheer the Chargers. Best of luck to the team and Coach Kerr on this historic opportunity to win a national championship in football. So let's go Chargers. I want to introduce you, or at least welcome to the podium, a Charger who we've seen a couple times. He's a student who's very active. Brody, would you come forward? I know that you want to say something to the board. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. My name is Brody Meyer, and right now I serve as our district's representative to the Utah State Board of Education. And so I've been trying to regularly attend meetings in our districts, but understand the needs of students, teachers, and parents. Right now, my group on Utah State Board of Education, we're focusing on school safety, so I hope to continue to gather information and feedback from everyone in the district and the community to better improve safety and mental health resources inside our schools. So thank the board for supporting me and providing me with excellent feedback on how I can improve. So thank you.
Thank you for being so involved, Brody. So the next honoree is the featured artist of the district's Yuletide season. Canyons District's annual holiday card traditionally bears the artwork of a Canyon student, and this year is no different. So tonight, we are unveiling the artwork that will grace the cover of Canyons District's 2025 holiday card. And here it is. Isn't that fun? It's sure to inspire skiers of all ages to hit the greatest snow on earth. This year's artwork was done by Eastmont Middle 8th grader Brinty Melchior. While excitement builds for the Winter Olympics in Italy in just a few weeks, plus the 2034 Winter Olympic Games here in Salt Lake, Brinty decided to spotlight a ski resort signpost for this year's card. We think it'll send just the right dash of warm wishes for this holiday season. The district's holiday card is sent to major donors, supporters, community partners, congressional and legislative delegations, mayors and city councils, superintendents of other school districts, media organizations, the governor's office, and even the office of the First Lady at the White House. So we send our warm wishes and holiday greetings all across the world with the artwork done by Canyons District students. Thank you, Brinty, for being the artist of this year's holiday card. Now, also, the power of play is electric in Canyon School District. The district partners with Playworks for positive recess environments. Twice a year, we do evaluations, an assessment called the Great Recess Framework. And in those assessments, third grade students are observed while they're at recess to determine the degree to which safe and inclusive play practices are followed and internalized by students. Now, over the years, Canyons has consistently demonstrated excellence, so much so that Playworks created an award of excellence specifically for Canyons District. A big shout out to Coach Maradoni in ISD and all the other Playworks coaches for making our playgrounds such fun, safe, and inclusive places. Also, in recent weeks, an Eastmont Healthy Lifestyles teacher was singled out for her excellence. Congratulations to Janine Greener for being picked for the December Teacher Spotlight for Health and Physical Education by the Utah State Board of Education. The nomination for Ms. Greeno says that she truly makes students feel safe, cared about, and effectively creates a space of learning, community, and calming. She is a great leader and has organized assignments geared toward whole classroom learning. She is a magnificent teacher and really cares about her students. So congratulations to her, and congratulations to Coach Dolney for all of the achievements and the excellence that Canyon's schools have shown in health and physical fitness. And next up, it certainly takes two to tango, and to cha-cha, and to salsa. Millions watched Australian TV personality Robert Irwin win the Mirrorball Trophy on Dancing with the Stars on the finale last Tuesday. But who will waltz through the competition at this week's Dancing with the Hawks? This is at Alta High School. The event is a fundraiser for Alta's award-winning ballroom dance team. And like Dancing with the Stars, we have the pros, meaning the dancers on the ballroom dance team. They are paired with student athletes at Alta who don't have any previous dance training. They learn a dance and then they compete for a panel of judges and for votes from the audience. Last week, two teams talked to ABC4 about whether it's more nerve-wracking to dance in public or compete on athletic fields. They were such fun interviews. The interview and the news report on Dancing with the Hawks was shown in the newscast right before Dancing with the Stars and then again right after. It was fun to get the word out about this fundraiser, and it's not too late to get tickets to the Saturday Gala and the Monday night competition. There'll be fun nights to help a fantastic performing group here in Canyon School District. Get your tickets today. And President Schill, you know that I cannot resist mentioning a Canyons District tie to a national story. It's worth noting that Alta High School is the alma mater of Dancing with the Stars co-host Julianne Hough. And this season, one of the professional dancers in the cast was Carter Williams, who is a former assistant coach of the state championship winning Hillcrest drill team. And he's the brother of Hillcrest teacher and drill team coach Chelsea Devine. Now, Canyons is full of talent no matter where you look. So, President Schill, thank you for granting us the time to honor those in Canyons who are helping us maintain a reputation as a powerhouse in academics, the performing arts, and athletics. We turn the time back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have now come to the patron comment portion of our meeting. The board often designates time in meetings to listen to the patrons of the district. Patron comment time is limited to residents and taxpayers of Canyons District, students and parents of students, and current employees of the district. Patrons may provide board members with written documents, and these documents must be submitted to the board secretary, she's right over there, at the meeting, or emailed to the Office of Communication by noon of the day following the board meeting. Tonight, individuals will be given 3 minutes, and those representing groups will be given 5 minutes. And comments made during patron comment time are part of the public record. It is the board's practice to listen and take notes during patron comments. The Board of Education does not discuss matters that are not on the meeting's agenda, nor engage in public comment on individual students to protect their privacy or employee issues. If a patron wants to comment on a district employee's character, professional competence, or mental or physical health, the board requests that those comments be submitted to the board in writing. However, if a patron determines to verbally comment on those personnel issues, the comments need to be civil and refrain from personal attacks, insults, defamatory, or slanderous comments about an individual. The Board of Education values input on all sides of issues. To maintain decorum and respect, we ask that those in attendance refrain from applause or other types of demonstrations during the patron comment time, as well as throughout the meeting. Okay, the first person we have signed up is Jake Garfield, and then the next person will be Jeanette Knight.
Good evening. My name is Jake Garfield. I am the proud parent of 4 future students at Eastmont Middle School and Jordan High School. I want the best for these schools. I'm so excited to send my kids there. I hear so many wonderful things about both of these schools, but I also hear some negative things. And the negative things all have the same theme. It's that the enrollment at both the schools is too small, and that low enrollment leads to less funding and thus fewer programs. And that's a concern for a lot of parents who live in these boundaries. And so I thought this was really concerning and intriguing. I poured into the data, and it was obvious that yes, indeed, these are the smallest middle and high schools, respectively, in the entire district by a large margin. Eastmont has a mere 639 middle school age students living in its boundaries, while the other middle schools have an average of 957 students living in the boundary for each school. That's a 34% difference between Eastmont and every other middle school. It's similar for Jordan. Jordan only has 1,800 high school age students living in its boundaries, while the 4 other high schools have an average of 2,200 students living in their boundaries. And I want to know, why are these boundaries so underpopulated? And I realize it's just because the maps, the boundary maps give Eastmont and Jordan comparatively tiny boundaries. And that's the simple reason why they don't have enough students at these schools right now. And it's very interesting. There are neighborhoods that would be a natural fit both for Eastmont and Jordan, but are carved out and sent to other schools that already have more students. And this is so striking. I actually brought the maps just because I think it's a really interesting visual. So here's the Eastmont boundaries. And the Eastmont boundaries, start out following 9400 South, which is a major state highway. But then they make this abrupt turn to the south on these residential roads. And they carve out these neighborhoods and send them to Albion instead, even though it would seem like 9400 South should be the natural boundary between Eastmont and Albion. Albion has 300 more students living in its attending, right, or 350 more students attending right now, and 300 more students living in its boundaries than Eastmont does. And I cannot figure out why these neighborhoods would be sent to Albion instead of Eastmont, following the natural boundary of 9400 South. If you look at Jordan, it's similar. Again, it follows 9400 South, and then the boundary makes this abrupt jog at a really narrow little road called Mount Jordan Road, and carves out this neighborhood and sends it to Brighton. Brighton has 600 more students than Jordan does, and as we look at the problems that are caused by the low enrollment, I think we need to change the boundaries. This is the best opportunity to do so. It's this boundary study. I'm disappointed that that has not been proposed by the Long Range Planning Committee. I'm so grateful for Vice President Edel, who has been very public with these proposals, but we would like to recommend that the Long Range Planning Committee reconsider changing the boundaries so there's more equity between for our middle school and high school boundaries. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And I want to apologize for that. I don't know if the timer was working. So was it working for you?
With 14 seconds.
Okay. Well, we have him up here and it didn't look like it started. So anyway, sorry, Jake, but thank you. Okay, the next person is Jeanette Knight and then Sarah Mannion.
Am I okay to start? Okay, I'm starting. Hi, I'm Jeanette Knight, and I am a proud Park Lane Elementary parent and community member. I want to speak about the long-term neighborhood impact of closing Park Lane Elementary, because this is not only a school district decision, it is a community planning decision with real measurable consequences. Decades of research in education policy and urban planning show that when a neighborhood school closes, the surrounding area experiences clear declines. Studies consistently report a 3 to 7% drop in property values, reduced housing demand, and slower neighborhood turnover. Just as importantly, communities with closed schools often see decreases in civic engagement and fewer young families moving into the neighborhood. These outcomes have been documented across districts countrywide. Park Lane sits deep within a residential neighborhood and has grown around the school for generations. If it is closed, what's left behind is a large vacant building in the center of our community. Vacant schools are uniquely harmful because they become a visual symbol of decline. They send a message to potential homebuyers that the neighborhood is shrinking, not investing in its future. This also contradicts the district's own long-range goals. If we want to support enrollment growth, attract young families, and build strong school communities, eliminating the very institution that anchors the neighborhood works in the opposite direction. A decision of this magnitude should strengthen neighborhoods, not destabilize them. I strongly urge the board to consider a long-term data and the ripple effect that this decision and this closure could have on my neighborhood, my home value, not just for today's students, but for the viability of this entire area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Sarah Mannion and then Isaac Cochran. Just correct me if I did not say that right.
Can I just ask, was the initial one accidentally given 2 minutes? Okay, I'm just trying to get used to this because it's changed since our last one. So, okay, thank you. Okay, board members, thank you for being here. Here I am again. I'm learning that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, but I'm going to keep running and I'm going to keep showing up because I'm here tonight to in response to the secondary proposal that is suggesting a different way to close my kid's school, Park Lane Elementary. A school that's scoring exceptionally well on testing, a school that serves more students than either of its neighboring schools, a school projected by your data to have the least decline in enrollment over the coming years compared to the neighboring schools, a school that houses a special education program, ACC, that would be moved unnecessarily, a school that sits centrally, accessibly in the heart of a walkable community, a school that has strong community support and consistently show up and ask to be heard. To be frank, I find it really confounding that the secondary proposal doesn't even afford an option that Park Lane stay open. I have not seen clear data that closing Park Lane specifically is essential to achieve an urgent need in the district or that it would be linked with better district-wide health. What I have heard is some board members asking for more data, and I've heard other board members dismiss them. I've seen clear facts that Eastmont and Jordan are dramatically under-enrolled compared to Albion and Brighton, and that there are hundreds fewer students in Boundary for Eastmont. I've also seen a clear correlation to how this negatively impacts students and staff members directly, my children included. I've seen that your new proposal doesn't do anything to bolster this enrollment or adjust boundaries in a reasonable way to offer more equity of enrollment numbers. Rather than close Park Lane or Willow Canyon, two vital feeders to these vulnerable schools, why don't we keep them both open and look at how we can bolster their enrollment to help eradicate these inequalities? I've heard you cite building FCI ratings as the reason that Willow Canyon would be absorbing Park Lane, but several weeks ago, Park Lane's superior FCI ratings to Granite were not considered definitive. This type of contradiction is damaging to trust. This process has been difficult. We've been talking about financial assets and how they are driving decisions, but what about the assets that can't be quantified? The assets of community, respect, confidence, and trust in their school board representatives. Our neighboring district, Granite, recently pulled back on their plans to close schools, citing, quote, concerns that recommendations don't address comprehensive needs, concerns about community buy-in, and perceptions that their process has been biased or unfair. They said they want the community to have confidence in their process and decision-making. I relate deeply. I want to have confidence in my district's process and decision-making. It's challenging when proposals go from closing one school to now potentially closing two schools in such a small geographic area. You're leaving a vast gap there for the elementary families. It's hard to feel trusting when I'm told that we've been heard, yet our community stands to lose its cherished walkability. And nothing is done to positively impact the feeder inequalities of my upper school. Trust is an invaluable asset. Please consider this. Please hear us. Please give us clear data, representation, and equal opportunity to keep Park Lane open. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Isaac and then Emily Hansen.
Hello there, I'm Isaac Corcoran. I'm your ideal customer. Myself and a few people that are my neighbors have been discussing how this whole topic has transpired and seems to have descended from a topic to an issue and is looking like it's going further down this path into what could be considered a farce. As other people have stated, it seems like the biggest problem that myself and some of my community, like myself, have young kids. We live in this area. We're being made aware that the future for our children is potentially looking very different from when we first moved into the area. The conversations we have are about alternatives to public schooling and concepts like charter schools that serve the needs for these kids in a way that feels a lot more like what we would expect. The boundary study lacks the ability to state a problem. There seems to be moving goalposts, and there's a lack of evidence and quantifiable data. I want to share some advice from my point of view. What I wish you could take away from my comments today is that from Charles Kettering, an inventor, he invented the electric starter motor. This quote is attributed to him. He says, "A problem well stated is a problem half solved." What are we trying to do here? Can you help us understand what problem you are trying to solve and how you are measuring that?
Thank you.
Park Lane is under-enrolled. This is vague. There's an evidence gap. There is no target capacity stated. Park Lane current enrollment figures, it just lacks the ability to say where they should be or what evidence is shown in how this boundary study is going to have an effect on that. Willow Canyon has space. This is misleading. Willow Canyon already has, is this space usable, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make. A well-stated problem. This is a straw man, not actionable, but the type of thing that we're looking for would be by fall of 2027, Park Lane will operate at 61% capacity, costing an estimated $420,000 a year in excess utilities and staffing, while Willow Canyon, after relocating its preschool and behavioral units, can absorb all 320 students into existing classrooms without portables, saving $380,000 net after $40,000 in one-time busing costs. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. The next person is Emily Hanson and then Shannon Herbert.
Excuse me. Tonight, I'm asking for fair consideration of Park Lane as the site for the combined Park Lane Willow Canyon School. We learned from the last proposal that leaving the site undecided pits school communities against each other. But we learned a lot of other lessons too. We learned SMAD differences in FCI scores are insignificant. Since Park Lane's 18% FCI advantage over Granite was dismissed, the 13% difference between Willow Canyon and Park Lane surely must be disregarded as well. We learned ACC students need strong advocacy. Relocating them from a familiar environment would cause academic and emotional harm. Please consider our ACC students before issuing a closure notice to Park Lane. We learned traffic flow matters. Willow Canyon sits on a short, congested road adjacent to 3 other schools. Adding 300 more students would worsen existing problems. Please conduct a traffic study comparing Park Lane and Willow Canyon before issuing a closure notice. We learned walkability is crucial. Claims that 100 Park Lane students could walk to Willow Canyon are unrealistic. Even from a nearby home, the walk takes 22 minutes and requires crossing the dangerous 9800 South Highland Drive intersection, which lacks a crosswalk. Sandy City has previously indicated that crosswalks and sidewalks can't be added here due to protected land. Please talk to Sandy City about this intersection before issuing a closure notice. We learned Waterford has offered to purchase Willow Canyon. As a proud supporter of public schools, I understand this is preposterous, and yet Utah has a recently proposed state bill that would give charter schools first rights to purchase closed public school buildings. Selling to Waterford may be the lesser of two evils compared to the risk of a charter school opening at Park Lane. Please consider the implications of the charter school first dibs bill before issuing a closure notice. In conclusion, I'm asking you to move Proposal B off the table for further study. Hold off on the Park Lane public hearing for now. Consider the ACC program, complete a traffic study, consult Sandy City, and evaluate the charter school first dibs bill before issuing a closure notice to Park Lane. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now Shannon Herbert.
Hi. I'm a Park Lane parent, and I'm frustrated and angry. We've given our feedback, hundreds of us, and we feel we've been ignored. The Park Lane community told you clearly that our top priority is our walkable school. Willow Canyon is not walkable for the majority of Park Lane families. 2/3 of Park Lane students, over 200, will need to be bused to Willow Canyon. Park Lane kids will now be bused to every single grade, kindergarten through 12th grade. For a community that values walkability, how do you think that makes us feel? And I know we're not the only ones. I know Granite is that way too. 3 buses minimum would be required for 200 kids bused to Willow Canyon. Your new proposals seem to omit those facts. FCI is the cited factor in choosing Willow Canyon over Park Lane. Yet Bella Vista's much better FCI wasn't a factor in that decision. And when the contest was between Granite and Park Lane's better FCI was never enough to make it a clear choice. Park Lane has been positioned as the default closure option in both proposals, even though in both cases the data shows Park Lane to be the stronger school with higher enrollment and much better future projections. In both proposals, you highlighted facts that disadvantage Park Lane. It really seems like you want to close Park Lane. Our other big concern is the Eastmont Jordan feeder system, but you've done nothing to change the fact that Eastmont and Jordan have the least populous boundaries by far. Albion has 300 more students in their boundary than Eastmont does. Forget permits. Boundaries are the issue. It's your job to fix this problem. I don't want my son ripped away from Park Lane in 3rd grade, only to have him ripped away from Eastmont a few years later when it closes, because you did nothing to save it. Put yourself in our shoes. Don't you see how at every level, from Park Lane to Eastmont to Jordan, our community feels overlooked? And we are not alone. Just 2 communities in this district are struggling with enrollment at all levels: Willow Canyon and Park Lane. Combining them will not solve this problem. You need to redraw the boundaries district-wide, keep both schools open, and redraw the boundaries. When Salt Lake District redrew their boundaries, they closed 4 schools that were spread throughout the cities. They were not all in one neighborhood, like is being proposed with Granite and Park Lane. And they redrew the boundaries for 14 other elementary schools. And those changes filtered up through the middle schools and the high schools. Please reconsider this proposal. Please stop overlooking our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now our next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and I will now take a motion to approve that, and please read each item individually.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Item A, approval of minutes for November 11th, 2025. Item B, approval of hire and termination reports. Item C, approval of purchasing bids. Item D, approval of annual comprehensive financial report and related audit reports. Item E, approval of district sex education instruction committee members. Item F, approval of proposed calendars for 2026-2027 school calendar and tentative approval for 2027, 2028, and 2029 school calendars.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion to the motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is new business, and it is the Long Range Planning Committee proposal regarding school boundaries and school consolidations and closures update. This is the third reading and possible action. And Leon Wilcox, Business Administrator, will present this to us.
Thank you, President Schill and members of the board. We started this some 3 months ago and lots of feedback, comments along the way. And here's our proposal for your possible approval tonight. Before we get to that, just want to note the 2 public hearings for Park Lane and Granite will be held at those respective schools. Park Lane was tentatively scheduled for January 27th of 2026, Tuesday, and then next day, Wednesday, we'll be at Granite again at the same time. We'll be notifying the communities of those with parent squares and by U.S. mail for both. With that, here's the following recommendations are being considered for third reading and possible action. These would be effective for next school year, the 26-27 school year. The first would be to move the western portion of Ridgecrest, so that portion west of 1300 East, between 7th East and 1300 East that go to Ridgecrest, they would now go to East Midville Elementary. That does align with the current Midville Middle School's boundary, okay? The second would be to, that Bella Vista would be closed and combined with the rest of the Ridgecrest Elementary in the Ridgecrest building. You can see the FCI scores there. You can see the map where the 2 schools sit there on that, there on the screen. Some of the benefits that we see as we've been over this for the last several months is, again, supporting grade level staffing and teaming, trying to use all our capacity as much as we can at our schools, support choice of classes and give access to academic programs, also help with these large and small class sizes that we see out there. And it should be also know that Bella Vista and Ridgecrest sit about a mile apart, both feed into the into Butler Middle and then of course into Brighton High from there. A couple other issues that we looked at. Bella Vista can support, Ridgecrest can support the Bella Vista students without portables. The combined enrollment is close to capacity for the Ridgecrest building. We do expect to be about 600. That'd be 4 to 5 classes per grade level with an average class size of 24. Some will be a little bit smaller, of course, some will be a little bit over. Permits, we will have to monitor closely. One of the concerns that we've had is what happens if some of the students who are now boundary into East Midville still want to go to Ridgecrest? Well, that would be a part of the permit process, and they'll have to monitor those as we go forward with that. The estimated combined enrollment for the new East Midville would be about 540 students. They've had over 600 in there in the past. We will be busing the Bella Vista students due to hazards with Highland and Fort Union. This portion over here of, I'm pointing back here, but this portion that's north of Fort Union is already bused, is considered hazardous, so all of the Bella Vista portion would be considered that, and so that would be bust. The Bella Vista ABS classroom, we will be moving based on our special education department's recommendation to the Brookwood building. The preschool students will be merging to open classrooms around the district. We will be opening a new preschool at the Oak Hollow building, but we also may expand, some of these will expand, and that would probably include Oakdale, which has a preschool right now. So that is our plan for the special education. So that is that proposal. The next 3 are boundary proposals, and we'll come back to the consolidation of Ridgecrest and Bella Vista after we get through these. We would recommend that all of Brookwood be boundaried into or feed into directly Albion. Most of the kids, there's around 30 students who live east of Willow Creek Drive. Roughly 20% already permit into Albion, but we're recommending that they all be boundaried into Albion. We're also recommending that about 20 students that in the Oakdale Elementary boundary who reside east of Highland, that's mainly the Pinnacle Apartments, would also go into Albion. That way it lines up with the Brighton High feeder moving forward. Also to our line is there's around 20 students who live in the Quarry Bend area who attend Glacier Hills. That's up there by the Walmart and Lowe's. They would now go to East Sandy, and that right now they're in the Union Middle boundary, so that would align with that. And then the last would be a high school with mainly Hillcrest and Brighton, going back a little bit from Brighton going to Hillcrest, but more Hillcrest going to Brighton, and that is pretty much up Sierra Creek Road, Drive. Everyone north and east of that would now go to Brighton. So that is our proposal. That would try to make Oakdale feed into 2 middle schools and 2 high schools is our proposal with that, okay? So those are all our proposals for for now. They would again go into effect for next school year. Now I'm going to return back to the Ridgecrest and Bella Vista consolidation. One of the things that we're looking at is, we want to make sure all our kids, parents, staff feel valued and welcomed at the new school. That's going to be our first and foremost priority. We want to make sure learning and education continues on with no disruption, and we want to preserve the strengths and traditions of both schools. Fortunately, both of them are named Tigers, so we'll continue with that. But and we plan to provide regular updates to families and staff in the community. Our next steps would be to communicate the process entitlement to our staff. We plan to have what we call a transition team, so it will be a building leadership team moving forward. We'll look to have 2 possible community teams that will work in tandem. One would be for the staff, the employees, so they're working together. That will be led by Sally and Alice, our elementary directors, and they'll of course be assisted by both principals who are there now, Sarah and Barbara. So working that way, and then we'll also want to have Sally, along with Alice and Susan Edwards, our community engagement coordinator, will be working with the PTAs and the SECs on that as well. So we know we have a lot of work to do of that, and again, we want to make sure we honor the history of both schools. Also consider rebranding as we move forward. We want a couple other things. We've heard comments on the Bella Vista property. We have no intention of selling that property. We want to make that clear. We know that there is a proposed charter bill out there where charter schools could get right of first refusal to buy our vacant school district property, but we have no intention of making that surplus. We may look at a shared use agreement with Cottonwood Heights for part of that, or we may not. There's still some work to be done there. Working with our staff, we want to ensure that all our contracted licensed staff, so that would include our teachers, our instructional coach, our social worker, our psychologist, all have a guaranteed job. Whether it's at the combined Bella Vista Ridgecrest building or East Midville or at some other school according to policies. Also, all our ESP staff who are contracted, that would be the admin assistant, the custodian, the lunch workers who are, again, these would be employees who work over 30 hours, i.e. have a contract and are benefited, would also have a guaranteed position, again, at one of the schools there. We'll do our best. We are not promising our hourly ESPs, such as the brain boosters, recess aides, office aides, that. We usually have 20% turnover each year in these throughout our schools, because these are what we call high turnover positions. So we hope to place as many who want to return back with us in that, and we will give them priority hiring with that. And then the ABS staff will, of course, follow that union to Brookwood. So here's our possible motion, and this is the last slide, then we can turn it back for discussion. And that would be, I'll just read them and leave it up here for you to also consider. The westernmost portion of Ridgecrest Elementary's boundaries, west of 1300 East, shift to East Midville Elementary to align with Midville Middle School's boundaries. That's number one. Number two, Bella Vista Elementary will be closed and combined with the rest of Ridgecrest Elementary in the Ridgecrest building. All of Brookwood Elementary students will attend Albion Middle School or feed into that. Oakdale Elementary students residing east of Highland, mainly the Pinnacle Apartments, attend Albion Middle to again line up with the Albion Brighton feeder. Students in the Glacier Hills Elementary School boundary, the Quarry Bend area north of 90 to south, transition to East Sandy Elementary to align with the Union Middle School boundaries. And 6, move Oakdale Elementary to 2 feeders, Oakdale, Albion, and Brighton, and Oakdale, Union, and Hillcrest. This would require students who currently attend Brighton to go to Hillcrest and vice versa. We want to make sure on the high school students, they will be given priority to continue out there. We know many are in programs, classes, theater clubs, sports teams. You know, we want to make sure they can continue out their full-time there at their respective schools. So we'll make sure that is available to them. So with that, that's our proposal. Again, these are the only ones we have going into effect for next school year. Take any questions or comments you may have.
Okay, board, are there any comments or questions right now? Or discussion? No? Okay, well, I have some questions. Oh, well, no, you go if you have them. So, Mrs. Nybar?
A few questions I have. I am concerned about moving the preschool to Oak Hollow. That's pretty far from Bella Vista. Do we know where those preschool kids, where they live? Do they live around Bella Vista? Because that's like 22 minutes and up a mountain.
Yeah, so we want to emphasize we will open a new one at Oak Hollow. Those students.
You're opening a new one. The way it's written, it looks like we're moving the preschool.
No.
Okay.
It's a new one at Oak Hollow, to emphasize that, okay? Because we have one at Willow Springs, but we also want to have one there.
Okay.
That being said, the others will go to the existing preschools in the area.
In the surrounding areas.
So
specifically, where are they going?
So it could be Quail Hollow.
Okay.
And it could be Oakdale.
Okay.
And there are others, I'll be honest, at the top of my head, I don't know. They also have Title I, so East Midville, all the Title I's have them as well, so.
Right.
So that class is not intended to be moved. We know that's a long ways away. That's not intended to move that whole class or unit that far, yeah.
Okay.
Mrs. Nybar, Mrs. Dolly wanted to answer that.
So just to answer your question, and Terry, confirm if I'm correct on this, but when we were discussing it at long-range planning, most of the preschool kids are actually coming from more of the center of the district, Altaview, Glacier Hills, that area. And so these kids going to Oak Hollow is probably closer for them than actually Bella Vista for preschool. And the ones that live closer to Bella Vista can already go to the preschools in that area. So we're actually bringing the preschool closer to where the kids are coming from.
You don't mean Oak Hollow, you mean Quail Hollow? Because Oak Hollow is at the very edge of the district. It's the most southern.
Well, what I'm saying is they're already coming this central, so it's moving more south to where these kids are coming from the north end of the district right now. So no, Oak Hollow is where it's being moved to. The new program.
Well, Leon was saying we're opening a new preschool at Oak Hollow, because Oak Hollow is the most southern elementary school in our district, and the more central, it makes sense to move it to Oakdale because Oakdale has such a lower population of kids and is closer. Yeah, can we?
Terry, do you want to come up?
Yes, please. I've been dying to hear from you.
Can I come up and explain preschool really quickly? So Stephanie Peterson and I sat down and looked at the numbers, and we can merge the current preschool at Bella Vista, there's 2 of them.
Yep.
And merge them through Oakdale, Quail Hollow, even up to Willow Canyon,
Perfect.
right? We can
Okay.
merge all those in, even some of them in the Title I preschools.
Okay.
And from there, we looked at where our numbers are. Yes, we have majority chunk in Altaview, Altera area, but we
Central.
also have a chunk of students that are in, we have like 20-something students, excuse me, that are down in, from Ocala, right? So 20 students down there, and we have about 30-something students at Willow Springs. And we thought, well, why don't we move those students there, and we would have a new opportunity to impact that area.
Okay, thank you. So clarifying question, the students the 20 that are coming from the Oak Hollow area, are they currently going to Willow Springs preschool? Because that would make
They can
sense.
choose, some of them are, so that's a mix of students with tuition-paying students and students with disabilities.
Yes, I know.
So the students with paying tuition can go to whichever preschool they
Yes.
want to drive to, right?
Yes.
So probably most of them are going to Willow Springs. Some
Right
of them
now.
may be going to Sprucewood also,
Yes,
right? And then our next
That'd probably
closest
be
one
the
would
2.
be Willow Canyon, right?
okay. So
Yep.
then will that impact Willow Springs? So, because right now Willow Springs has 2?
Nope, it should not impact Willow Springs.
Okay.
Nope.
So we believe that there's enough growth there that we're opening a new one in Oak Hollow, but the Bella Vista ones will be absorbed by Oakdale and those surrounding areas that
We're
are
looking
close.
at today, even today, at the number of students that would be graduating, like going to kindergarten.
Yeah,
And there would be only 11 students that we would have to redistribute. Does that make sense?
yes, and it will be close to their homes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay,
Does that
thank you
help?
so much.
So
Yes.
great.
Can you stay up? I have another question.
Sure.
Okay. The last time we relocated an ABS program was actually, I had been on the board just a year, so it was several years ago. And there were concerns. I had a few phone calls with teachers and parents to the school that we relocated ABS to. And I just wanted to hear, what are we doing transition-wise with Brookwood? Are they aware? Is the administration aware?
Yes.
Do we feel like the building is fully equipped to handle that? Could you speak to that?
Yes, I can, that'd be great.
Thank you.
The classrooms are wonderful, right? I have spent time with the principal there with Corey and talked her through that. She had some questions and she had needed time to process it because she hasn't done it with any type of special class before, right?
Yes.
Right. So I have a meeting set with them to meet with their faculty next Tuesday to answer all their questions, all the things that they might have concerns about, any barriers they might see happening in that school,
Wonderful.
and help them understand the successes that can happen there too.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Now, what I want to point out that I've had conversations about that I think is really important to point out in this public meeting is that the ABS population that currently resides at Bella Vista, that is not their boundaried school. They're coming from other areas.
Correct.
And that is why I would support this move, because my biggest concern for all of our special ed kids is that they can go to school with their neighbors and their peers. So I believe that this is actually better for them that way. Is that correct?
I would agree. I think it'll be a good move for them.
Okay.
As we look at all the students in ABS classrooms, like you said, are coming from all different
They
parts
are.
of the district,
Yeah.
right? And those students that are at Bella Vista, there were, I believe, don't quote me exactly, but I believe there were only 2 students that were from that area.
That's, yeah.
Sure. So as we looked at the space was one of the most important components, right? As I evaluated other schools in that area, and even farther south, we just didn't have the right space. And Brookwood feels like the right space
The
that we
right
can do
space.
that. And the right population of gen ed students that can be there to help support them,
Helps.
where they can be mainstreamed and be part of the community.
Great, and we feel the staff also would be able to support that. Okay, great. And then one other question for
Sure.
you. As we look globally at special ed, this is kind of this is close to my heart. I
I really want to make sure that we are, whatever we're doing, our 5-year plan, that we're doing the very best job we can to not impact our students that are most vulnerable with excessive changes. Sure. To have That's some my goal too. stabilization, because that is something that's been so difficult for us historically, not because of neglect for those programs, but an issue with funding and being able to find the right teachers and support staff. But over the years, I've come to get to know a lot of families that are in this program and how difficult it has been for them to have their students moved every couple of years. Your predecessor, Nate, I spent a lot of time with him going over what we can do to stabilize that and to make sure that the pathway is clear, that we can try to get these kids to their feeder patterns, that we can try to keep them. I just wanted to hear from you tonight about feeling like this is a good move for the ABS. Yes. And then also I really look forward to having you come and present to the board. I know you've met with long-range planning. I would also just love to hear about what our long-term plans are, especially with this proposal on the table we have with Park Lane and Granite. Of course, I want those kids to stay with their peers, which the proposal does, but I'd love to hear from you about what the impact you feel, even like as was mentioned in public comments, just about a change of surroundings and things. And I think a big part of that is teachers that possibly could move with them. I think that's also really, so. Yes, happy to do so. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here tonight. Really appreciate that help. You're welcome. Okay, I have a few other questions. I'm really sorry. I'll be so fast. Okay, unless, Amber, do you want, I have a couple questions about high school stuff. Do you want to go and then have me come back, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's see if there are any other board members, and then
Okay.
we can come back to you.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks.
Any other board members have comments or questions? Okay, I do then. Okay, so one of the things the Bella Vista community was asking is to delay a year. And so I'm just wondering if long-range planning, if you guys talked about that and how you felt about that.
Yeah, I can answer that, and any of the committee members, board members who are on the committee would like to, they can. We looked at that. The main reason was, we changed the proposal for the Granite and Park Lane, Quell, Willow Canyon. That proposal changed. This has been our proposal out there since we made it back on September 2nd and has not changed, so that would be the reason.
Okay, so, oh yeah, Mr. Edel.
Sorry, so, it was also brought up, potentially doing it for additional transition time, for the smoother transition, and it was a discussion that we had, and I thought we had a fairly productive discussion on that as well. The key issue that Bella Vista faces right now is essentially with staffing. And so the point where we're at has created a lot of instabilities with staffing, and I discussed this as well with school performance, and to try to get some opinions on that, because both the PTA presidents for Bella Vista and Ridgecrest brought some really great points up, and so I wanted to make sure that we had discussed those, and I felt that we did have a pretty solid discussion. But the issue goes back to, I think, the staffing stability. Nothing's going to change, but that is a pretty severely impacting issue for setting the date another year.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to say anything? Okay, I have another question. This was brought up in, can I ask? Yes. Well, are you addressing that? Yeah. Okay, then, yeah, go ahead.
So I, like you, Amber, was wondering, is it better to wait? But what I have heard from the research I've done also is it's very difficult when we're looking at what's best for kids. It's difficult with the low numbers of staff we have at Bella Vista, and they are unable to provide all of the programs that they would like to. I did receive a really awesome kind of Google Doc of all the programs there that are available at Ridgecrest, like Monday, instrumental ensemble music group, STEAM, Chinese tutoring. Tuesday, they have music. Wednesday, they have chess. They just have so many things every single day. And I think because they have a lot more staff and a lot more children. And so when I saw all of the options that would be available to the Bella Vista kids that don't have that right now, especially when we have one grade, that there's only one teacher per grade, so there's no teaming that can happen. I was excited about what the kids can have, provided for them at Ridgecrest that right now can't, just because we don't have the numbers to sustain extra faculty there. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for discussing that, because I know that was asked for, so I was hoping that Long Range would discuss that. So then my next question is, and it was brought up in comments and it's been brought up before, but just to go to why, even though Bella Vista has such a low FCI, why did we choose going to Ridgecrest instead of staying at Bella Vista?
Good question. And we know the FCI is quite a bit. There's a bit, a difference there. It should be noted that one of the last projects the Jordan School District did before our split in 2009, so it happened in 2007, 2008 area, is they did a complete remodel of the Bella Vista building. And when we started in 2009, one of our first projects was a complete remodel similar to the Willow Canyon building. But going back, it's just the size of the Bella Vista building. It's about 53,000 square feet. It has 23 classrooms. It could not accommodate the Ridgecrest student body without having without portables outside. So that was the driving force, is just 5 more classrooms, to accommodate roughly 150 students. So that was the main thing there. One of the things that has been brought up is eventually building a new combined school for the two of them. We don't know what property, right? We drew up plans, and those plans had it sitting on the current Ridgecrest property, but we want to emphasize no decision's been made on that, but that will be a decision that will have to come probably sooner than later. And that's when some really more serious rebranding can happen with, they probably still want to be Tigers, but, do you change school colors, and do you change the name, and all that happening with that? So that is something that's out there in the future, but not that far away. So again, we'd look to hopefully put shovels in the ground in about 4 to 5 years from now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And that does bring up my next question, and this is more for the board. And I don't know if long range planning discussed this or not, but you just brought up like the branding. So when we rebuilt Glacier Hills and combined those two schools, we did come up with a whole new name, a whole new mascot. So I'm just wondering, did you guys talk about that at all? Or what, how do you feel as board members? Should we see if the community wants to do that right now? Should we wait until it's rebuilt? I don't know, I'm just curious. Okay, Mrs. Dolly?
I think as we talked about the rebranding, a lot of that is up for community input. I think there's pluses and minuses both ways, and so I think that is, we would like to see what the community's feedback is on that.
Okay, any other opinions? Mrs. Oakes?
Yeah, I really love that the suggestion that we're going to have a committee of parents from both communities come together and work together. Maybe this is their first task that we give them, is to come up with a name or discuss how they want to move forward with that. I think it's really important that both communities have the opportunity to be able to collaborate in that way. So.
Okay, thanks. Mrs. Nybar, did you want to say something?
I like that as well. I think it'd also be good to put it to the SCCs and the PTA as well as the committee. And yeah, which I think is really good. Yeah.
Okay, and I would just add, like, maybe we could do a survey even of all parents, but of course, Bella Vista's smaller, so we'd want to maybe look at percentages or something. Like, it wouldn't be fair to do a straight survey that way, but maybe, yeah, they can discuss that, but okay. I do. I like that idea that we are letting the schools discuss it. Although it is a board motion to rename a school, but it sounds like we'd like to get input on that, so. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Oaks, then Mrs. Nyberg.
Sorry, I wanted to say this earlier. So I am going to vote in the affirmative for this motion, and I want to point out why. I just want to recognize this is really hard for the Bella Vista and for the Ridgecrest community in its own way. We've heard from Ridgecrest teachers and some parents. And I recognize that it's never easy for a school to close. However, I do think that particularly in this situation, this is what is actually best for students. And when I first became a board member, and Cheryl Taylor was my predecessor in this position before he stepped down, he used to say to me, make sure whatever you do, you're making a decision that is best for students, and you'll never go wrong. And when I look at the data associated with this decision, especially with the supports, the staffing, and all of those other things that go into creating a positive learning environment, for me, it becomes very clear that this is the best thing for these kids long term. So I apologize for the short-term, relatively short-term growing pains that this will entail, but I know in the long run that this community is going to be better for it in the big picture. And so that's all I wanted to share.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Nybar?
So currently Oakdale Elementary, they all go to one feeder for middle school, correct? No. Can you explain that? They go to four.
They go to Butler.
That's
Albee,
such a small school. That's so sad.
Butler, and it's mainly those Pinnacle apartments.
Okay.
Then they go to Albion, which is the bulk.
Okay.
But then also a portion goes to Union, and a small portion goes to Midville.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. This is not my area. And that was the one thing I've been so focused on the Bella Vista, Ridgecrest. I haven't spent much time on looking at the feeders, and I was a little concerned about. So moving it from 4 to 2 is a huge improvement. So
we think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, board? Okay, I will now take a motion, and I don't know if we want to do all of them at once, but then I do want to have discussion after the motion. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion. So I'd like to make a motion for the following 6 items. Number 1, the westernmost portion of Ridgecrest Elementary School's boundary, west of 1300 East, shift to East Midvale Elementary to align with Midvale Middle School's boundaries. 2, Bella Vista Elementary be closed and combined with the rest of Ridgecrest Elementary in the Ridgecrest building. 3, all of Brookwood Elementary students attend Albion Middle School. 4, Oakdale Elementary students residing east of Highland, mainly Pinnacle Apartments, attend Albion Middle. 5, students in Glacier Hills Elementary School's boundary, the Quarry Bend area north of 9000 South, transition to East Sandy Elementary to align with Union Middle School's boundary. And 6, move Oakdale Elementary to 2 feeders, Oakdale to Albion Middle to Brighton High, and Oakdale to Union Middle to Hillcrest High. This would require some students who currently attend Brighton to attend Hillcrest and vice versa.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll make that second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion to the motion? Okay, well then I will have some discussion with myself. I mean, I'm just gonna speak. So this is really hard for me. Okay, you guys know I'm not a crier. Like, I rarely cry in board meeting. this is really hard because Bella Vista is, anyway, the school that my kids went to. And I am going to vote in favor, but it really is because I do think it's what's best for students. We as a board really want to, I feel like lucky to be board president right now because we really do want to do what's best for students. And I think it will be best. I know it's going to be really hard. Like, change is not easy and closing a school is not easy. But I know it will be hard, but I'm hoping in the end that it will benefit students. And also, I think it's best for teachers. I mean, it's hard with the staff that they have now, just as Mr. Edel said. And my biggest worry with delaying is just that we will lose more students and lose staff. And then it's already just so low with 200 students that would be really unsustainable. I do want to say, like, some of the benefits, I did call the principal at Ridgecrest, and these are just some of the staffing things that they have. They have 4 days a week a speech pathologist, they have a full-time social worker, they have a full-time resource teacher, they have an assistant principal, they have two MTSS assistants, they have a full-time achievement coach, and then just as Mrs. Nybar said, they have multiple things for students, activities before and after school. They do have a big Chinese New Year celebration, and they actually include all the students if they want to do the fan dance and dragon dance. So not just DLI students, like all the students can participate. They do this really fun thing that's called a day of play, and I actually went to that. It was the day before Thanksgiving, and they just have a whole bunch of different classes the kids can sign up for, but it's like art, and there was chalk art, and there was just all sorts of fun activities for the kids to do, and they were having a blast. There was, I think, psychedelic yoga. Anyway, there were some cute things. And I really do, I've also talked to the principal, and she said their community is going to be very welcoming, and they are really good at welcoming new people. So I'm hoping that is what will happen. So those are just all my thoughts about this. So if does anyone else want to say anything? Okay, Mrs. Nybar.
Thank you so much for everything you said and all the work and time you've put into this. I really want to thank the Long Range Planning Committee. You've had excessive meetings and excessive hours really studying it out, and I am so grateful that each one of you I've been able to call and have conversations with, and I appreciate all of that. I also have had many conversations with President Schill. I'm so grateful for all the time and effort she has spent going to those schools. And I think tonight what we'll be seeing is an example of great leadership. It's a very sad day whenever we have to close a school. I don't think it's what any of us want, but we do want what's best for students. And so I appreciate her leadership in this, even though it is difficult and close to home for her. The one thing I did want to discuss is I'm just a little nervous about some of those kids that are currently attending Brighton, that they'll need to move to Hillcrest and Hillcrest to Brighton. Are we going to give priority if they're currently at the high school to be able to stay there? I hate that disruption, especially at that high school level when they only have a few more years left. I just wanted to highlight that. I'm sure we will, but I just wanted to hear someone verbalize that.
Okay, Mr. Wilcox, do you want to address that question?
Yes, good question, Holly. As we said, we know they're in academic programs, maybe theater, art, sports teams, whatnot. Of course, we will give them first priority. We've told the principals that they're welcome to finish out. That's where their friends are. That's where they've gone. Absolutely. We will make sure that happens.
Thank you.
I think they're all planning on that continuing anyway. I don't think there was any expectation that they would have to change. We've always said that out though, publicly.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you. This is hard. This is hard for us. This is hard for these communities. And it's not something that we take lightly. We have spent thousands of hours collectively working on this. We've been called all manner of different names in this process, but we really feel for all of our communities. We don't want to be closing our own schools. The school my kids have gone to is being proposed to close also, but we're really doing this for the students to provide the best education possible for them, to support them in the best way possible, and to support our teachers in the best way possible. Know that even though our proposal may not go with what your comments have been, it's not that we haven't heard you. We have just looked at things differently and come to different conclusions, but we're really trying to take into consideration the needs of our students.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other comments, I will call for a vote. So all in favor of the motion and, Mrs. Nybar.
I just received an email from a parent of preschool children stating that they do believe over a dozen kids in just the last 2 years have gone to the preschool at Bella Vista, and that it is closest to them. We can go ahead and vote on this, but I think, can we have a follow-up of more specific of what's going to happen to the preschool children and look at those numbers a little more closely? We don't have anything set in stone yet as far as where they're going. We just said neighboring schools, correct? Is that right? Right? Okay.
Yes,
So can we
do that.
Can I
Yes.
just ask for a follow-up on that
Yes,
at
sure.
the next meeting? Thank you.
Yes, sure, we can do that. Okay, anyone else? Are you sure? Mrs. Nybar, are you sure? Okay, okay, so the motion before us is up on the screen so everyone can see it. We've had a motion and a second. So now I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next, yes. Mr. Edel? Okay, Mr. Edel and then Superintendent. Oh. Okay, sorry about that.
Thanks. Sorry, I wanted to get through this part because what I wanted to say was related to long-range planning, but I really wanted to wrap this up real quick. Because I wanted to go through some of the process that we've been through so far in the other area that we haven't discussed, but that we've heard a lot from. And so as we look at our Quail Hollow, Granite, Park Lane, Willow Canyon area, and of course the first proposal started with combining of Granite and Park Lane together. And so I just wanted to take a quick walk and then have a discussion on this. In our early discussions, there was a concern about Park Lane's parking lot and bus accessibility. To emphasize that the concern is real, but the mitigation to the concern ended up, it turns out it wasn't quite as significant to mitigate as we originally thought. But during this process, I remember the discussions in long-range planning when the initial plan was to propose to close Park Lane and then to be done with it. We ended up proposing to close both so that we could further study, so that we could hear from community. And what came out of that was additional information that pointed to what could be a better building, right, and a better location, which then ultimately led to an entirely new proposal coming out. And there's a lot of different opinions on this, and there's been a lot of direction. But my concern right now is that I feel like we're boxing ourselves back into where we were in that initial discussion.
And we can all make our initial assumptions, whether it be building conditions, whether it be land, but we have this process for a reason. We take public comment for a reason. And so my concern is, as we've, in the Park Lane Willow Canyon area, and I mean, this could even go with Granite Quail Hollow, I feel like we've boxed ourselves in without an option to consider an either or in these situations. And I'd kind of like to hear some different opinions on that from the full board, because I've kind of only heard the sounding board from the Long Range Planning Committee.
Okay, board members, anyone want to comment on that? Mr. Lewis.
I agree with you, Andrew. I think we should have the opportunity to consider both closing Park Lane and Willow Springs. Willow Canyon, excuse me, lots of willows. I think that would be most appropriate to have that conversation on both schools. I fully agree.
Anyone else? Mrs. Nybar?
I agree as well. I think it would be worth studying.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I will just say, like, board, let's just remember this is just a process. Like, yes, we could decide to close one, we could decide to close none, we could decide to close both. Like, we're just starting this process over again. And I don't know. I mean, I guess we can discuss that further. It sounds, I don't know. I think maybe, do you guys want to send it back to long range planning to discuss that, or Mr. Edel doesn't want that?
So my concern is that 90-day period at the moment.
Okay, well then I'm going to say, last time when we named two schools, it pitted two communities against each other, and I have no desire to do that again. That's my opinion. I don't know how other board members, I mean, there were three of you that just said you would want, so let me make sure I'm clear on this. You want to name both schools for possible closure? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a fourth person? Okay, no, there's just three of you. So for now, I mean, we can discuss it again, but for now, there's only three. So we're just going to stick with the two proposals we have right now, currently. Okay, let's move on to staff comments. So Superintendent.
Thank you, President. Just want to echo everything that's been said. You know, through this process, I think as difficult as it's been, it really has been a thing of beauty to hear about students thriving and families supporting their schools. I've been in different districts and different places where that's not always the case, and it's, hey, let's close this school as fast as we can because it's not a very good school. And that's not what we've heard. It's really refreshing to hear, and maybe the silver lining in this is that through this crisis and through this situation that we're in, there's great opportunity in that, right? And one thing that, and it's been said, that I know we're confident, and the board and our staff, our families are confident that the level of education, the level of experience that our students will have and the opportunities that they'll have, that's not going to change. Our mission stays the same, our why stays the same. Maybe our how and our what changes a little. Most organizations go through this type of process, you know, whether it's in industry or education or whatever field that you're in, is adapting to the environment and the different forces and factors that are upon us. But the why and our vision and our mission in the district will not change. And you see that every day in our schools. That's universal. Those are, you know, principles and values that are embedded in all of our schools. So just appreciate everybody's input. I know this is difficult, as it's been said, and we recognize that, but I appreciate everybody's thoughts, concerns, efforts from all voices, and also just to echo thanks to the long-range planning committee. We sit in those meetings, and they're long, they're excruciating, they're very productive, and you know, what's best for the students is always the driving force in that meeting. So anyway, just much appreciation for the leadership that's been shown tonight, especially Amber, being our board president and a parent of students at Bella Vista. That is the true meaning of a leader. When the time is, you know, when times are the most tough, the ability to lead in that is really a tribute to you. So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilcox, Business Administrator report.
I just echo a lot of what Rick said. You know, when we started this process back in April of last year, you know, our first comment was this is going to be hard and it's going to be sad. And it's sad. You know, that was our thought, is how sad it is to close a school. You know, times have certainly changed in the last few years, and it's unfortunate. But you know, we worked through a process. We certainly appreciate all the comments we received, many, throughout this process. And it's, you know, we always knew how integral these schools are to the local community. That's been the overriding theme. Everybody says, hey, I live 3 blocks from the school. They never say I live 3 blocks from the Harmons or the Smiths or the dollar store. You know, it's always 3 blocks from the school. And so they've been the heart of the community. They've been around a long time. We know that, and I don't think anybody, you know, the 9 of us up here, nobody wishes we were not in this position more than us, and we acknowledge that. And so, and again, we feel like and again, we're always going to focus on that why, and that's what's best for kids. With that, on the consent agenda, you may have noticed on our termination report, he stepped in earlier and has stepped out, but Steve Diamond has submitted his retirement notice. He'll be here the rest of the school year till June. But Steve was a founding member of the Canyons School District. He was here day one. I remember he interviewed me for my job when I came here, and we did a little poll of everybody, you know, one of our recent operating committee meetings, and Steve interviewed everybody in the community before they came here. So he will be greatly missed when he does retire. But I don't know how we can replace him. But certainly wish Steve the best of luck. He's a dear friend to all of us, and happy for his next chapter. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Nybar.
Well, first off, I wanted to comment about Steve Diamond. We are sad to see him go, but wish him all the best in his retirement. I go back a long ways with him. I reminded him of this when I first got on the board, but he may have forgotten. But actually, back in the day, I was a middle school teacher in Alpine School District, and my sister was a middle school teacher at Crescent View when it was Jordan School District, and actually worked under Steve Diamond. And our schedules were such that I had a day off of school, and she was sick, and I was her substitute teacher, so I subbed in her classroom, and he was principal, so that was kind of fun. I wanted to first I want to thank the Long Range Planning Committee. You have spent endless and endless hours. I know my hours pale in comparison, and I am so grateful to know that you've all been diligently doing as much work as you have. I commend you for that work and for all the meetings and all the separate phone calls and conversations you've had to parents and with parents, especially, you know, those of you that serve on that committee. You know, a lot of the parents are in your area, so I'm so grateful for that dedication. I want to thank our board president again. I do too also feel like you've just demonstrated great leadership tonight, and I am so grateful for your leadership on this board. You're a very effective board president, and I'm very, very grateful that our leadership is in your hands. I would be interested when we come back and talk specifically about the preschool, just to get those numbers, and would love to look at, because we are not giving away Bella Vista or selling it right now. I'd love to look at if indeed we do have more preschool kids that are actually in that neighborhood, looking at if it would be possible to keep the preschool there as we move forward, at least for the next year. The other thing I wanted to mention, I had one other thing. This is it. Park Lane. The reason why I said I'd be interested in that, President Schill, I'm not interested in pitting communities against each other at all. But every time we've gone to community input meetings, and again tonight when we heard from Park Lane patrons and parents, I just keep thinking there's such compelling arguments to keep Park Lane open. It's difficult for me as a board member to think about moving a school that has a higher population into a school that has a lower population. That's number one, that's really hard for me. Number two, it's very hard for me that the housing is more affordable. And I want to make certain that what we're doing is we're really looking at the long sight of everything. And my concern is that in the next few years, that when you look at the study of populations in the youth wave, given the business that I've been in for 15 years, it's actually something I've studied quite a bit. And I do think that that area is poised for probably one of the first areas that would have that youth wave coming back, just because of the more affordable housing. So that's what's difficult for me. I don't want to pit communities against each other, but you know, the gut check is it's difficult for me to want to move an elementary school of that size and that potential for incoming growth. So I just wanted to leave that with you. Thank you for all that everyone does and all their hard work and their support for the board as we move forward. We've got a wonderful board. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis.
This last week, I had the opportunity to attend a cafe in Midvale. It was hosted at Midvale Middle School. It's been kind of designed over the last couple of months through a whole bunch of partnerships to connect community to resources available. It seems like there's a lot of struggling in Midvale going on right now, especially related to federal cuts, ICE, as well as everything else. I will say it was a wonderful time. Rick and myself were there. There were giveaways, backpacks, free artisan bread that was delicious, free delicious street tacos from Midvale. It was wonderful. The next one, it's going to be almost a monthly thing, I believe. The next one is going to be on December 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Ruth Vine Tyler Library. I will be there. I hope to see many other people there. Tell your friends in Midvale. There's a lot of great stuff going on there. Yeah, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Edel.
So I'll start by saying I was able to hear the Glacier Hills Choir sing at Memorial Mortuaries last night, and that's really fun. So special thanks to Memorial Mortuaries. They set up a great, they're great hosts for their tree lighting ceremony that they invite Glacier Hills out to sing at, and that was really fun. I especially like their song Blizzard on the Way, which is fitting because their mascot is Blizzard, the Yeti. But anyway, the kids were really fun, and the mortuary was a great host, and so I appreciate them including the broader community and lighting that tree, which is seen by quite a bit of people, especially off of State Street. But then I also just wanted to take a minute to talk about the Jordan Eastmont feeder. It was brought up a few times. I brought it up many times now to my fellow board members, but I'm increasingly concerned about the Jordan Eastmont feeder system. And as I look into what can we do to strengthen the Jordan Eastmont feeder system, I also have to look at the root causes as to why we are where we are.
Reality is, all you have to do is look at our attendance matrix to see why we are where we are, and it's because it doesn't have as many students who are boundaried in the area. And so there's a couple things that we can do to address it, but I think we have to be willing to address it. So one of them is we can reboundary areas. If we're not going to do that, then we need to look at how do we draw in other students there. And we can do that through special programs, but we can only do that through special programs if the students are required to take all of their classes at within the feeder system, as opposed to I'm going to take my special class here, and then I'm going to go back to another high school within the district for the rest of my classes, which is the current model that we have implemented. And the issues that cause are that now you have students who are just in the school for one class. So they're not known to the administration, they're not really known to other students, and it's really kind of like introducing a whole bunch of unknowns into the school. So that by itself doesn't solve it, but we could potentially strengthen it through special programs, assuming that the students take the rest of their core classes at that school as well. But that only impacts Jordan, right? And we know that to have a strong system, we've got to do something about Eastmont. Some ideas that have been thrown out have been making Eastmont language center. That's also got its own issues that go with it. But I think that as a comprehensive whole, we need to be ready to do something at the two different levels, or we need to be ready to redistribute all of the students in that entire system to the rest of our schools. We have to do something, right? The latter is a really bad option. I think we all agree with that. When we look at the capacity of our other middle schools and our other high schools, as well as the history of our schools, we know that that's a pretty bad option. So what are we willing to do to then strengthen it? Because we can't just say, oh, that's a priority I have, and then stop. So I hope that we can all ponder over the holidays, maybe lose a little bit of sleep over it, because a strengthened Jordan feeder system is a strengthened Canyon School District, and I think that's what we all care about.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Oakes.
Thank you. So one of the things I love about November is that it is musical season, and I had a chance to go to Corner Canyon's Mary Poppins, which was awesome. It's just in the moment when I thought there might be kites, they should really have kites come down from the ceiling. All of a sudden, they did. It was amazing. There were so many delightful moments in it, and I love how much they involved middle schoolers in that production. So many kids, so much talent. And then I also got to go see Alto's Hadestown. I had never seen that musical before. I knew the Greek mythology that was based on. It was awesome. And I have to say, whoever their new choir teacher is, she is a rock star. The harmonies that those kids were singing were tight and difficult, and I went up and I talked to them afterwards, and they all said, we love our new choir teacher. They couldn't gush about her enough and just are having a wonderful experience. So that was really a fun evening for me. I loved the Corner Canyon State Football Championship. It is such a kick to see those kids get so excited and see them flood the field and celebrate together. It was a thrilling moment. I'm so happy for them. I'm really excited for them and their upcoming game in Baltimore. I wish I could be there. I had the opportunity to go to the superintendent's listening tour at Altera Elementary, and that was great. Again, this is something we are all really appreciating about our superintendent and his intent to get out to every school and every community and corner of the district and get personalized feedback from everybody that provides an openness and a piece of safety that I think is so important for our staff, and you could really feel that day. Lastly, today, Katie and I both had the opportunity to attend the 2025 Utah AI Summit. This was a phenomenal day. I mean,
I can't say enough good things about it. It was organized by the Governor's Office of Commerce, and with an approach and intent to not only understand AI in its capacity, but to approach it through the lenses of the importance of human interaction and involvement. And I really appreciated, it was intended to be a cross-section, and it was, of education, policymakers, and industry. And having those three come together, the synergy was incredible. And I learned things I had no idea existed in our state. I mean, there's somebody who was seeking to automate our power grid through AI. That was brilliant. From the University of Utah, is one of the professors up there. There are people using it for every use you can imagine. From what I understand, in the breakout, and Reed Nui was there and presented, and so did Emma Moss and somebody else, Jonathan Stewart. They represented canyons really well. I mean, I had no idea some of the things they were doing. And fortunately, in January, they will be coming and presenting to the board as a whole about some of what we are doing with AI. But it was a very thought-provoking discussion, and I want to get it out there into the public because I think there are a lot of parents who are nervous about AI, about what it means, what it doesn't mean, how do we prepare students, is it going to replace their ability to critically think? There was so much discussed, and there is a lot of intentional action being taken, both by our legislature, by local industry, and education is definitely talking. There are a couple documents that the governor revealed this morning that I think are important to mention, that along with the state Board of Education, they have just barely released what they refer to as the AI-infused learner foundations, and also the AI-infused educator. And one of our legislators, Ariel DeFay, has a bill that she is putting together that would require LEAs across the state to take these principles and put them into action in their districts. And so I think it's really important that we as board members, and I'm happy to send that out to everybody. They're not hard to find now that it's been properly announced. It's really, really important that we're getting out ahead of this. In the words of our Student Advisory Council, these kids are already, especially in high school, are already using AI. That's what they told us. Whether or not you want us to use it, we're using it. We all have access to it. And we would really prefer for the district and the teachers and staff to become very well versed and understand this and know how to use it effectively. So please get out ahead of this and get up to speed, right? Essentially is what they had to say. And I shared that actually in one of our group breakouts today. It is a world that is coming. It's a very exciting one, but also one that is important for us to be very intentional. And thankfully, we have lawmakers in the state who are trying to get out ahead and put some important guardrails down. I would encourage anyone who's listening to get onto KSL or some of the other news sources that covered today's event and read some of those comments. It's a critically important issue, and it is going to impact every area of industry much more than people have any idea. So, again, I'm so grateful Katie was there and Reed was able to come. These are issues we definitely need to keep discussing as a board.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you. I'll start with that. It was an awesome summit, and I appreciate Emma and Jonathan and Reed that all presented, and that Canyons is leading the way. They're helping to set the policies at the state level, and our state is leading the way in the nation when it comes to artificial intelligence, and specifically when it comes to privacy and personal data privacy, and putting into motion laws so that we own our data, and we can take our data, that companies do not own our data. Somebody likened it to a feudal system, that the kings used to own all of the land, and the people were serfs. They worked the land, they lived on the land, but they didn't own anything. And that is what it's like right now in our AI digital world, is somebody else owns all of our data. We don't own it. And so the state is working hard to change those laws and those policies and leading the way on that. And so it was a great opportunity. I can't remember how many times I heard the importance of that we need to be teaching digital literacy K through 12 and preparing these students for how to properly use these tools, to understand what AI is and what AI isn't. That it is not really artificial intelligence. Somebody likened it to collective intelligence, that it's there to enhance our abilities as humans, but not to replace our abilities. And so Utah's really leading the way on this pro-human artificial intelligence. And so I'd spend some time looking into what the summit has put out, and there's a lot of great information there. I want to thank Holiday Oil and England Trucking and our Canyons Education Foundation. Together they were able to, through the help of England Trucking, get a diesel truck for our diesel mechanic program. Better than anything the teacher ever could have hoped for. And so it was awesome that those entities could come together to get this diesel truck for our students and provide them with a better educational opportunity as they learn how to maintain these kind of vehicles. I also want to thank our peer court. They did an excellent job teaching at a state USBE webinar, teaching other districts how to run a peer court. And if you're not familiar with our peer court, it's a restorative justice system where our own students serve as judges, and they work with students that have broken a law or whatever reason have gotten in trouble with school, and they come and meet with them, and they try to understand what the situation is and with their parents, and create a plan to help these students get back on track and to keep them out of the court system. And so it's an amazing program. It's made a lot of difference in students' lives. And the cool thing is that we have judges now that they joined as a judge after having been one of the students that was referred to peer court, and the difference it has made for them, and that they're now giving back in that way to change the trajectory for some of these students. And I love that, you know, they're teaching other districts about this great program that exists here in our district. To answer, speaking to what Vice President Edel said about the Eastmont Jordan, we are aware of this. We are thinking about this. It needs to be looked at holistically as a study. The study we opened is an elementary school study. We need to open a secondary study, and we need to look at this on all sides and figure out what the best solution is there to help support these schools, because it is important for the strength of Canyons District to keep all of our feeders strong. And so no, that is our concern. As we finish this one, we can open up our capabilities to focus a little bit more on that area and those concerns. To address some of the questions that came up today, and some of the reasons why I did not vote to add Willow Canyon to the closure list as a possibility. One, I've heard from so many people in the Granite community how hard it was, how negative the situation it was, how many people did not want to go to Willow Canyon, Park Lane, or to teach at Park Lane after how much animosity occurred when two schools were named, and unfortunately somehow we're pitted against each other in this situation. I think we've done a lot of study of the buildings and understanding the needs that are happening there, and I feel confident in the proposal that we have made. I know there's a lot of focus on FCIs. When we talked about the FCI between Park Lane and Granite, our facilities guys pretty much said they were pretty equal, even though it felt like there was a large difference in FCI. They really couldn't point to what that difference is. It's hard when you get 50-year-old buildings. Roofs go out, chillers go out. Things happen, and these are $1 million repairs. The divider curtain in the gym goes out. That's $1 million. You know, stuff like that just really adds up. So yes, parking lot was part of the issue, but it's going to be $3 million-ish that we were sort of back of the napkin running through it of just things that we need to be done to get Park Lane even somewhat similar condition to what Willow Canyon is currently already in. So those are things that we have to look at when our budget's dropping each and every year. And so we have to be smart with our money and wise as to how it is spent. Understand too, Willow Canyon is also a 100% walkable community. And so either with either combination, whatever way we go, somebody's gonna have to be bused. And, you know, but the busing isn't bad. My kids have been bused their entire school career, and they love it, actually. They love meeting their friends at the bus stop and riding the bus together, and they have a great time. So, you know, yes, there's some hard things and some give and take with these changes, but we're looking at all of these things as we look at these studies, and I've lost sleep over it. It's not an easy thing, but we're really trying to do what is best for the students in this process. And what the problem is, people are asking, well, what is the problem? Well, when we have 2 teachers per grade, we're now spending about $12,250 per student, and this is just in staffing costs at our schools with 2 teachers per grade. At our other schools where we have 3 or 4 teachers per grade, it's about $8,250. We get about $4,600 from the state. So the difference in that has to be made up from property taxes. And it's not equitable for us to be spending an extra $1.5 million a year on one school in our district and not on other schools in our district. So we have to take all those things into consideration, and this is the problem that we are addressing for looking at this boundary study. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pedersen.
Well, I don't think I need to say much more about boundaries. Katie's taking care of that, so I appreciate that. I also am so excited about the fact that all of our board, we don't just come to these meetings, we don't just go to committee meetings, but we're out learning. We attend all sorts of community events, we go to conferences, and we share the information that we learn and bring it back. So we're trying to stay as current and aware of what the needs are in not just our district, but in our state, so that we can be proactive and do the very best that we can to get ahead of trends that we can see that are going on. But we don't want to go so far out on a limb that the limb would break. We want to just be prepared and not be caught unaware. And to go along with that, I'd like to compliment our board, everyone sitting on the up here. Every year, we are asked by the Utah School Board Association to complete training for our master board certification. Part of our training is required by the state, and the other part is training on how to be good board members, how to interact with community, how to set agendas, anything and everything that we may have a desire to know to support us being effective board members is provided by our state association. I happen to be the USBA Board of Directors representative for our board. Every district in Utah has a representative, and we meet bi-monthly, and we actually at this point are getting ahead of some of the laws that are being proposed. We hear rumors that they haven't even numbered them yet, guys, 200 education ones alone, and that's higher than we've ever had. Some may disappear, and we hope that they do, or that they'll combine, but I don't know, but we're trying to get ahead of that as well. So just know that we're well-trained and well-prepared, and that every single one of us completed our training, and so that's quite an accomplishment as we do it all individually, and I'm very proud of that, so congratulations. I'll be excited to report, they'll already know that, but to brag on that when I go to the Board of Directors meeting next week. I'd also like to highlight something I came across as I was going through. I get parent squares for all my schools, so all the messages you get times 8, okay? And they just keep coming, and that's great, because then I know what's going on, and I just like to be involved and know what's happening. One of the schools that I get the parent squares from is our Life Skills Academy. I don't know if you're aware of this. We do have a wonderful school for our students that have graduated, promoted from our high schools that are special needs. Not just resource, we're talking special needs with some severe disabilities. And they're 18 to 22 years old, and they are given chances to learn how to live independently and to contribute to society with jobs. In their news article that the students wrote, the students write their own newsletter. And they do this monthly. They mentioned that they work at 11 different job sites. Some are outside the school and some are inside the school. It varies with their ability. And to get those jobs, the school and the students talk to the managers or owners of various businesses all around our community to find out if they have space for the students to work. A few of the students in the news article shared where they work. One girl is working at Treehouse, and she cleans and works with the equipment. So she cleans the gym. She loves it.
How does she get there? She rides tracks and uses her legs. She walks. So it's not like, she's learning to be very independent. I love that. And another was saying that they get to go to the Red Cross and they make snack packs for people who donate blood. They may not be big jobs, but they're big to them. And they are able to give back to the community who has given so much for them. And it's just exciting to see how much fun that they have. 83% of them state that they like their jobs. I know one that rolls the silverware into the little napkins at one of the restaurants. Might be Dolly's, I'm not sure. No, I don't know. Might be, I don't know. One of our restaurants, Chili's, Dolly's, somebody. Anyway, they roll up the silverware. Well, someone needs to do it, and they get the opportunity to serve, and I really appreciate that. They also have their own fundraisers, just like all our other schools, and they were able to raise, collect food of 427 items to donate to Entrada's food pantry. These are our adult, that's our adult high school. We have two alternatives, well, three really. We have Life Skills for the handicapped. We have Entrada for adults who didn't graduate but want to come back and be able to finish that high school diploma opportunity. And it's the only one, there's only two in the whole state where you can actually graduate with a diploma, not just a GED, a full diploma. And they donated food to them. And our third school that we have is our alternative high school, which is Diamond Ridge, is for students that need smaller environments and a little more support. Some of them have been dropouts of school and they've come back. Some of them have severe ADD, whatever. There's various reasons that they're there, but they have chosen to come from the regular school and go to our alternative school, and it is growing. They started out with, I think, a couple of years ago with like 27 students, and they have 300 now. So they're actually growing as fast as some of our regular schools. But I'm just so impressed that these students are taking advantage of the opportunities that they have, and I'm just so proud that Canyon supports those chances, those opportunities. A lot of us talk about all our regular ed schools. We have these three that are amazing. I got a kick out of the parent square from Eastmont. Stacy Kurtzals posted today or yesterday that the December Spirit Month was going to be Friends style. So every single day, they're going to do fun ways to count down to Christmas. And every day has to do with something with the show Friends. So the first one that was yesterday was, how you doing? And they had a little clip that goes with it. And so everyone was to give friendly greetings or wear a friendly greeting type shirt. Another one that I thought was fun coming up on the 8th is Phoebe's Smelly Catmas, where they get to dress up like cats and, just have something fun with that. They have a holiday armadillo day where they can wear holiday animal themes like penguins, snow, polar bears, those kinds of things on their clothing. And then they also have a Christmas morning Monica style in pajamas. I just love the fact that our principals, and this isn't the only exciting events that's happening out there, but our principals are so creative and so supportive, and they do all sorts of fun things to keep our students engaged and happy and healthy. So I just appreciate so much what's going on, the service projects that I'm seeing. I know that teddy bears have been donated to firemen. Our district is providing a SightFest vision event for students that need vision checking that don't have insurance. They're partnering with the community on that, and that there's just so many drives for our food pantries at this point of time. Our students care. Our students are involved and doing service, and service is the part they're going to remember from school. That's the part that makes them a community member and makes them belong and see people in a kinder way. So I just appreciate so much all the opportunities that our schools are providing for our students, especially in this month of December. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I just have a few things. I participated in the audit committee, and we actually did an audit of our information management systems. And we did pretty well. They did have some suggestions, and I want to let the board know one of the suggestions was to tighten up some of our policies. So probably policy committee will be seeing that. Also, otherwise, we're doing great on all the other things. Also, I participated in Butler, well, it's at Butler Elementary, but Cottonwood Heights City has a little monument. It's kind of to the side of Butler Elementary. And then they did a time capsule. And it's not going to be open for 100 years. I'm like, it's like usually you hear like 20 or 30. Okay, 100 years. And they did put pictures of, over the years, Butler Elementary. They did like a piece of granite from the quarry. They did put, I guess, a USB drive containing all manner of historic facts and photos. Chances are they won't know what that is in the future. I don't know. Anyway, I just want to thank the district because that was just, I think we just granted them a little easement and they put up this monument. And so anyway, that was just very nice. And I think our historic committee in the city was very happy about it. So none of us are going to be around then. Good luck with that. That's true. I don't know. I don't know the details about that, but anyway. Also, I just want to thank Steve Diamond just for all he's done for the district. It was interesting. In our meeting, in our operations meeting, he had literally interviewed every single administrator there or been part of the interview process. So he's been here from the beginning. We really appreciate him. He has a great attention to detail, and I'm really kind of worried about the calendars, but we'll find someone really good to do those. Because it's very complicated, and it's very complicated with those calendars. So anyway, we'll be hard pressed to find someone to take his place, but I'm sure we'll find someone good. I just want to address a little bit kind of what we talked about earlier with the naming two schools. So we received, just as a board, so many emails saying, why did you guys pit us against each other? You know what I mean? So I think that's why we only want to stick with naming one school. And like I said, I think that could change. It could change, right? We're just starting the process again, right? Like we totally changed the proposals from the last time. So it's not a done deal till the board actually votes. So just remember that. And I just want to say, like for me at least, and I think our board feels this way, we have no intention of closing Eastmont or Jordan. We are putting millions of dollars in both of those schools. And if we intended to close them, we wouldn't be doing that. And I agree with Mr. Edo, like we do need to look at how we can boost them up. Like we need to look at supporting them more. And hopefully the Long Range Planning Committee will now be looking at middle school boundaries and high school possibly, but first middle school. Yeah, so just remember this past study has been on elementary schools only. So that's all I want to say, and I just appreciate our board, and I will now call the meeting to close. Thank you.